Alright, dude, so now. Yeah, should be good. We're good to go. Hi, guys.
Good stuff. Hello, Stuart.
Hello, Samuel. We're back to TNG reviews,
Oh my goodness.
right?
Well, that's all good. You know, we've had bits and bobs in between. I can't think of what we've done in between, but I know it's been a lot of stuff. Does that make sense?
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
Wonder how many we can crank out if we can get season 5 done before August, before New Trek. Or we're going to get like right to the end and have 2 episodes left in season 5, and then all New Trek, and then continue the reviews in like January when New Trek dries up. That's what happened last time. So
Part 2 of Trekyards, February 2022.
yeah.
It took as long for us to get to the reviewers they to produce the episodes of TNG for us to watch it back then. Look, it's not our fault, guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, this episode's a great one to talk about because it introduces my favorite character in all of Trek, Mr. Mott. And, yeah, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Mr. One-Time Admiral. I mean, the One-Time Admiral guy, you know, he really stands out as being...
He's a dick, yeah. I mean, yeah. There's lots of lovely people in this.
No, his name's Richard. He's not a dick. So my brain went to RoboCop, so I was like, no, his name's Richard.
Dick Jones. Olivia Julius already has a super chat of $5. Okay, new game. Take a drink for every time Cap says he hates Ro on tonight's live. You will not survive. I'll be nice. I'll try to be nice.
Goodness.
Yes. So anyway, yeah. Season 5, Episode 3, Ensign Ro is tonight's topic. So hit like, guys, if you haven't already.
Yes, I'm just trying to get Premiere to open, which is important.
It is.
I told it to crash itself, so hopefully that means it's gonna... There we go.
And Broken Speaker, I agree. He says, truth be told, I never cared for Ro. Yeah.
But there's characters in every show that you just don't like for some reason, so it's hard, you know, they're all out of one.
Yeah.
Like some people, you know, people just hate Neelix, and it's like, oh yeah, but it's fine.
I like Neelix, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, yeah.
Like, people hate Neelix way more than they hate Ro.
Yeah.
Like,
But, yeah, anyway. Teach their own. The sad thing is, watching this one, it's like, there's so much potential for this character. And they kind of went with a little bit of it in TNG, and then if she would have showed up in DS9 as Kira's role, which was the original intent, it would have been very interesting to see her arc and see how she would have ended up at the end of DS9. So, but...
Although it would have been quite different, I'm sure. I don't know how they would... You know, it wouldn't have just been a one... You know, it wouldn't have been a one-for-one whatever. Okay, I think I'm lined up now, which is good. Let's check that for...
So guys, hit that like button, and thank you for joining us. Boy.
Yeah, we like a bit of TNG, although we are arguably past the best of TNG, but we're arguably where they become more and more comfortable with their characters, and so we're getting the most true TNG, and that it's just them living the characters. As previously they did, you know, they did things that you would think, well, that's a bit out of character, or wait, what? Now they're comfortably them.
Yeah.
For a couple of years. But yes, I'll start showing Stuart, so I'll see you back in a minute.
Yes. Because that gives me the alone time with the audience to say super chats are a great way to support the channel and help us out. Olivia is here and she's already done one, which is great. If you can, please do. I'll read your comment or question via the super chat, or if you want to do PayPal, you can do that as well at trekyards@hotmail.com. Just let us know in the chat that you sent to PayPal, and we will read your comment or question via the email from PayPal. And that's Sylvia sneezing. So anyway, you can also join the channel at the rank of Commander, Captain, Admiral, Fleet Admiral, or Federation President. There's a little join button down there. You get some cool emojis and cool stuff as well. You get your name highlighted, so we're more likely to read out your name. We also know how long you've been with us because it's a little badge beside your name. So very important things if you can, and that's a monthly way to help us out. Show your support. If you can't super chat all the time, it does make a big difference when people join the channel. So pretty simple to do. It's not very expensive, and if you can, it's a little bit a month, and if you can do that, that's awesome. Another way to help us monthly is to head on over to Patreon/Trekyards. You can check out the different tiers there as far as what you want to help out monthly. It also helps us keep going, so we really appreciate it. Plus, we have 2 stores now. We have the Teespring store, which is, the link is in the description below, as is the TeePublic store. Now, the TeePublic store is the new store, and probably a little bit better prices and a little bit more varied assortment of things right now. So if you want to check out both those stores and you get yourself something, that would be great. We have some merchandise coming from them for samples that we can show you guys on air. And anyway, yeah. So so if you can, please do so. It shows your support for the channel and helps us out. And you get to wear some cool Trekyards merch because we got a lot of cool stuff on there. So check that out. Broken Speakers using his privileges. Yes, he's got all the little emojis there, which if you join the lives quite often is a good way to show your love for the channel as well. So, and that's all by hitting that join button. And it starts from very, very inexpensive per month to whatever you want to go up to tier-wise. So check it out if you can, and by all means, let us know your thoughts on this episode as we go along. Your thoughts on the characters, your thoughts on the plot, your thoughts on anything. We love to hear that, and we love to get your engagement and talk about things, because these reviews aren't just about us, they're about you guys as well. So if you guys can chime in with your opinions, by all means, we really appreciate it, and it gives us talking points as well that can help us move the conversation forward. And we got a great community. We love having you guys on board. So if you guys can speak up and be part of the community, we'd really appreciate that. So, and look, he's back.
Hi there. Yes.
Hi.
So this one, talk about how you sold this to me when we first said, oh, we're gonna go back to reviews. Remind me that, and then we'll go into how you actually felt having watched it.
I was just like, I didn't really sell you on it. It was just like, we have nothing to do for live, so let's get back into TNG reviews.
No, I just meant this episode. What was your the thing you said to me is like, this episode, yay. Like how framework before we get to how you thought about it this time.
Yeah, I was like, this is like the episode. This is going to be a fun episode to talk about, considering it introduces Ro Laren, who's one of my least favorite characters in all of Star Trek. I said that about Pulaski too, though, going into the reviews in season 2, and by the end of season 2, I actually really liked Pulaski. They really fixed her near the end of the season, so we'll see. There's a few episodes with Ro, but I just remember not really liking her much at all. So, yeah, that's kind of where I stand with that. So, what about you? What was your thought going in?
Well, obviously, you know what's going to happen because of the name. Like, so there's no abstractness here. Although, I didn't. This is one of those great ones where you know the outline, but I couldn't have told you much that happened in it. That said, I actually knew everything that happened in it. I just thought there was way more that was going to happen in it, and therefore what I thought I knew was like a part of the A plot. Turns out, no, I knew the entire storyline because it's like a razor-thin storyline. I was actually kind of surprised. I did actually know the storyline. But obviously, even if you remember the storyline, you don't remember the acting, the dialogue, the nuances, the performances, because you just can't. So that's the stuff you're really watching it for. So it's as close to a first watch as I can get for an episode.
Same with me. I didn't remember much going into it, actually.
Yeah.
I just remembered that. I remember them walking through the camp, and Picard not wanting her on board, and that was it.
I just remember meeting the terrorist man. That's probably who I remembered as an abstract. I remember the ending. Well, I will say right out the bat, before I explicitly say what I think it does lose momentum, this episode, as it goes. And the end was worse than the beginning. For me, I think momentum was a problem this week. So that's my first comment I'll say before I sort of jump back to you as to how you'd respond.
Yeah. It does speak a little more to me now that I've seen all of TNG and all of DS9. You learn all about the Maquis, because this is like the beginning of the Maquis stuff, the little terrorist splinter cell, right? So you know what that turns into, and it's like this is the starting point of that, with no mention of the Maquis in this one, but You know that's where it's going. So it kind of adds new life to it. Plus, like I said, I didn't remember much of the plot. So on this watch through, I'm like, okay, it's pretty standard, straightforward story as far as, you know, the Admiral working behind the scenes kind of thing, trying to, you know, and the Cardassians doing their thing to try to get this guy. So, yeah, I just appreciate it a little bit more because it does feed into the Maquis thing. So, which I never really remembered this was a thing because I didn't remember this episode very much. So,
Although it's worth asking, Stuart, in this big, broad world of Star Trek, are you more a more team Bajoran or Bajora?
Bajoran. That's another thing that pisses me off in this episode, the Bajora. And Picard even screws it up and says Bajoran at one point. Like, I don't know if that was deliberate or if his script said Bajora and he just went with Bajoran. It was kind of an odd...
Well, they say both throughout.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, which is it? They use them interchangeably.
Well, it's like Vulcans and Vulcanians. I called them Vulcanians in TOS a few times. Yeah. It's like...
But they call them both. And it's very odd. It stands out because it's never mentioned again.
Yeah.
And you had the actual name in it as well, you know.
Yeah, so anyway, on this watch through I was like, okay, I'm actually paying attention this time. Because usually if there's a character I really don't like and it's very heavily centric on them, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to watch this because it's Star Trek, but like I said, didn't remember much of the plot. So this time I was kind of like, okay, whatever. I love the way it starts. I love the Mott the barber scene, and just the fact he's talking like tactics with Riker and Picard. But he's the best barber in Starfleet. What are you going to do? Of course he's on the flagship. So I thought that was cool. But other than that, pretty cut and paste, flimsy story, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. I liked it as an episode, but it's because it won a lot of good faith of me at the start, and then lost it as it went on. Which is still leaves me with an okay feeling at the end, but it started much stronger than it ended. I think it's because we as the audience very, very, very quickly into the twist knew what was happening, like real quick, within like a minute and a half, and the twist setup is like 7 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
And the dialogue is, while sort of fun, it's not quite entertaining enough to be truly entertaining, and so you're watching like 8 minutes saying, yes, I know, there's no one on there, yes, I know, okay, it's over. And so I would have cut it down to like a minute and a half, maybe 2, and actually had another bit of meat to the story. And that's not a good thing when you're like waiting for the punchline for a fourth of the episode.
Yeah. There's a lot of this too. I'm grumpy and gruff and I don't want to be here. Like, uncross your arms. I know body language speaks volumes, but that just irritates me so much.
Well, the fact that no one does it in Trek makes it all more powerful and extremely effective.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and my favourite moment, I think, in the entire episode is quite early on, when, you know, the Admiral's talking to Picard in the ready room, no, in the
conference room briefing.
There you go. And they're setting up wonderfully the character of Ro Laren, and I'll get into that more when we get to that moment. And then after all these words are said, he just casually says, "I had to get her from prison," and it doesn't skip one single beat, and it ups the scale. It ups the, you know, she's basically the Michael Burnham of Starfleet. You know what I mean? At this point, in essence, she really kind of is, but it just keeps going. And so once that's said, you know, she is the absolute extreme case. And now, of course you've pissed everybody because fuck this world. You know, I'm not here for you. I was in prison. I don't want to be in prison. F you all. So her characterization is beyond perfect, really, for this. Like, I thought, while it's not the most interesting to watch, give or take, it fits beautifully with what she's doing, and she nails it hugely. You know.
No, I'd agree with that. I just, even the reaction from Picard, like, as soon as he hears Ensign Ro Laren, it's like, Ro Laren? Like, he didn't have to think about it. He just knew the name. Like, this is somebody that's a big deal. So, yeah.
Only mutineer all of Starfleet. They keep sponging records, so the mutineers never get through to the next generation.
Yeah, so anyway, I feel a little bit better about the episode. It wasn't that bad. There was some good dialogue, and I really liked the leader, the
Mm-hmm.
Splinter Cell leader guy with the melted face and the little voice box thing that actually moved when he talked.
Mm.
Like that was really impressive.
The problem with all that stuff is implying a strong setup, but I don't think that guy comes back.
He doesn't. No.
So it feels like a good part one, but knowing it means nothing in the grand scheme. That guy, that reason, especially if the Maquis becomes a big thing, I don't get the sense they start with this guy. Like, he doesn't seem powerful enough or intimidating enough to be the guy that started the Maquis. He's just the guy that started one brawl, maybe. And then other people started it. You know, we see later leaders that are far more capable. So he's good as like a... And there's revelations about him, blah, blah, blah. But so as soon as you realise, like, there's no payoff to this episode, like, this one, it kind of falls a bit more flat. But that shouldn't be a deficit to this episode while they're writing it, because they were assuming they'd do more. So it's kind of hard to judge an episode which meant for more, you know.
And then there's a revolution that they didn't in fact do it. It's fact the Cardassians that attacked the Federation outpost.
Mm.
To me, that's an act of war. So the next couple episodes should be starting a war with the Cardassians. I know there's a buildup of tension over the next little while, but they attacked the Federation outpost. That's an act of war.
No, they destroyed.
Exactly. So, I mean, where's that go? Nowhere. It's like, oh, that's fine. It was a misunderstanding. It's
Massacred civilians, but, you know, hashtag... Nothing, there's no hashtag, it just sucks. Yeah, that is actually a great point. But I mean, you know, there's as they often do, the placement is very odd with this. So they're currently on the border of Cardassian space, but it's not Federation space, it's neutral space, which means neither team has annexed it for some reason. Okay, you would think that whatever. But Bajorans aren't part of Federation at this point, so it's not whatever. But then the Bajorans are actively choosing to make colonies on the border of Cardassian space.
No, they had colonies there. This is the way they explain with the Maquis. They had colonies there, but because of the war with the Federation, like 40 years ago, the way that the borders got divvied up, some of those fell within Cardassian
But that's later,
purview.
Though.
Well,
that's Maquis retcon, which is great, but that's not what they said here. They said there was people, because they said the Cardassians took over Bajor, people fled, they made colonies on the Cardassian border for some reason. And the Federation haven't done anything to help for whatever reason. So, but why would you go next to the people that enslaved you? And if you've got warp capable, you can go anywhere. But also, they haven't got warp capable because their old ships are warp capable. So clearly, they didn't run away. I always hate when they need warp capable ships to do anything, but have no warp capable ships for the plot. But it's like, but then they can't get to where they're going.
They had solar sailors.
They also had solar sailors. Yeah, that's massive retcon. Yeah, if they're that tech, you know, I just.
And they were architects and artists when humans weren't even walking upright. So I mean, I don't have any sympathy for the Bajorans. Never have. They've had their time in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
It's their time to reap the rewards of centuries worth of like
pomp.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh goodness. I just find borders intriguing because, like I say, if you can warp anywhere, don't go to the Cardassian border. They're obviously not fighting for their home anymore. And you never get the sense that Cardassians, you know, that Bajorans spread out across the galaxy after this. They were at their home world, they got conquered, they got colonized, then they got thrown out, and then. But Maquis is human colonists, not Bajoran colonists. Like, Bajorans are freedom fighters against Cardassians on their home world. The Bajorans didn't have an empire, they had a planet. But in this one, they've gone out and colonized, but without warp technology, but also not near Bajor. It doesn't make much sense how they frame any of this narrative in the grander scale, and even in the simple scale, it doesn't necessarily fit.
Unless the thing with the non-warp capable ships is just these small little colonies. Because I would imagine the Bajorans would have had warp capable ships, considering how long they had been.
They would have to have,
at the height of their civilization. So maybe they got dropped off here years ago, and then the border changed or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
But these small little colonies only had like little, impulse ships for in the system or something. So
well, I mean, they've got colonies in the same star system clearly because they visit multiple places on the same whatever. And I like that. The fact that the Starfleet assumed the Bajorans could attack and destroy Federation outpost implies they have A, warp capable, and B, big weapons. Obviously, they did have all that tech at some point. Just like I say, they're old, whatever.
Yeah. Well, we got a few super chats. Let's get into those before we actually look into the episode itself. John Saunders puts in $5. No questions. I just love Michelle Forbes. Not a band account, $2. Never trust a spoonhead. Cardi's always scheming. That's a slur. Mark Lawrence, $5. Took my lunch super late to be here. Oh, thank you, Mark. Row my boat anytime. Ooh, he's a fan of Ro.
I like her more as Kane from
Yeah.
from BSG. I think she sells that part better for me.
Yeah. Matt Borman, $5. Maquis were former Federation citizens, not Bajorans. Yes. But this is kind of like the beginning of the unrest in that area, you know? So, and I'm sure a lot of the Federation and the Bajoran colonists would have been mixed and mingled, so. But yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the setup for DS9. Deliberately the setup for DS9. So clearly the Maquis are linked directly to the Bajorans, clearly to Cardassians. So even, you know, it is the same setup, you know.
Yeah. Matthew DeFreitas, $5. In my honest opinion, the problem with this episode is you don't know the Bajorans yet. Understand why Ro is all pissy. Unless you also watch DS9. Was DS9 on yet? During season 5, no. I think DS9 starts at the end of season 5, beginning of season 6.
Well, this is like I say, they invent the Bajorans in this season for their DS9 season. That's why there's so much Cardassians in this year, because then next year they start DS9 at the same time. Which is why this is why I want to watch this before DS9, because this is how they actually started DS9. We know how DS9 starts, but this is how DS9 really starts. And they do a decent job with Ro being pissy, but at this point she's a person of the week. I don't know if Michelle Forbes is a famous actor. I don't think she's a famous actor at this point. So, you know, there's been many different races attacking other races, etc., etc. I feel like Cardassians have killed a lot of people, a lot of places. You know, just one more group of, you know, people attacking another group of people for doing a thing to another group of people happens all the time. And you know, it's weird that she could join Starfleet. That's the thing that kind of threw me for a slight loop. There was no explanation except she ran away. It's like, okay, I guess. But did she want to? It doesn't feel like she wants to join. Like, there's only one episode. I'm sure they go later on into like there was a reason why she wanted to join Starfleet, and then it got corrupted by other things. But there was never that glimmer of she wanted to be an officer for a reason. It feels as if she went to Starfleet to get a command to kill Cardassians potentially. Like, there was no link between her and Starfleet.
If I remember correctly, there's a story later that she tells, probably in Rascals or something, where she says that somebody from the Federation or Starfleet helped her, so she wanted to become, join Starfleet as a result, and then it just got jaded. So I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of the vibe that I get.
It almost feels like the way they talk about that Professor Man feels like she's just almost, you know, a not equality, a hire when you hire someone of another race for the sake of publicity and demographics. Affirmative action, you know. It's like, look, we've got 9 Bajorans in Starfleet, yay. I don't know, because they're not really a thing in Starfleet, really. Like there's a couple, but it's never really been a big thing.
Well, they're not a member of the Federation yet.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. I'm sure once it was a member of the Federation, there'd be more joining. Like, you know what I mean? So.
Well, they're not members even until at the end of DS9. I don't know if they are signed up at the end of DS9. I think they're still independent.
Yeah. Eric Martin, $5.
Thanks.
Not an Ensign Ro fan, but here's some cash for this case. For the case. Thank you. All right. Well, let's just get into it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the way this starts with the haircut and talking about Romulan strategy, and Picard's just all like, no, it's fine, I'm going to get out of here. He gets the call from Riker. Yeah, really nice. Just a nice little intro to Mott, which we see a few times after this. So.
Different actor each time, I believe, which is a little bit sad.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there is a Bolian in the previous one, but he didn't get many lines, and it was a different actor. I think there's another.
Yeah.
And this is one of those sad. It's one of the best cold opens for a long time, because I just love Bolians. I love the simple look. But if this was any of the other shows, this would be a regular recurring character. But because it's TNG, it's not a recurring character. But within one scene, this actor sells it enough to be like, oh, he deserves to be in more. Which is just sad, because he's not really in more.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of wondering though when he says it, because it feels like they just came from a Romulan engagement, which is a lovely way of like adding a bit of diplomatic tension in the world. Like, oh, it just came from a Romulan thing, because that's what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the way he kind of says, "Oh, I talked to Riker about this." To me, I was almost waiting for when he says, "Oh, well, Riker agrees with me." Picard's like, "Well, he said he agrees with me." Like, he talks to his friends one way, his captain the other. I was kind of waiting for a little bit of fun tension, or for him to call back to that later and say to Riker, "So you don't agree with me? What?" Like, I was waiting for that like fun moment, but it played a bit more for playfulness.
Yeah. I love the Vulcan in the background getting his haircut too.
The bowl of the head. Yes.
Yeah. And then Mott, before he leaves, is like, "I told him we shouldn't have colonized so close to the Cardassians." Like, that's what Samuel was just saying.
Yeah.
So.
And he's also great exposition, because he does say really important things. Just because you need to remember who the Cardassians are, but just wonderfully done. Little scene.
But then they the stress call got cut off, and they're 26 minutes away. So you get the nice little talk with Riker talking about strategy with the barber, and that's where Riker's like, "Hey, he's the best Starfleet, or the best barber in Starfleet. What can you do?" Nice little just building that character moment, which I wish we would have seen more of Mr. Mott, and we do see him a few times. But yeah, nice.
And it's implied as in TNG or Voyager as well a little bit, or a similar personage. Well, I love the fact they're 26 minutes away, but if they're 26 minutes away, they're in sensor range.
Yes.
Sorry, you are in sensor range at that point.
And honestly, how fast are we going? Like, let us know. They're probably going warp 6. Like, move faster.
Yeah, so maybe if they're so why are they already on the Cardassian border? Because if you're 26 minutes away at warp 6, you're at the Cardassian border. Sorry, that's as close as possible. Space is very large. If you're 10 days away, you're not on the Cardassian border. They are right on that border for some reason. I don't know why. But do you not think they would? Because you forget that the attack was today in the dialogue, because everything's already like underway. Ro's already on her way because there's little time jumps. But if it's today, you would think the Enterprise would be able to scan the area, see galore class warships. If they haven't got scanners that can change how they appear to make them look Bajoran, they should be able to get Bajoran scans. I mean, who thinks a Bajoran ship can outrun the Enterprise? Nobody. So as long as they get there quick, they can. But there's a real disconnect of like, oh, a Federation colony got destroyed, moving on. It's like, but you're right there. You're the closest ship in range. If any ship is closer, it's on its way, in which case the Cardassians attacked it. So there's I just thought it was such an odd choice to be that close. It doesn't make sense. You're literally right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not really. Is it clarified where the outpost that was attacked was? Is that the one they're reaching it in 26 minutes, or are they reaching?
No, they said they could reach in 26 minutes.
Okay.
They're just going by it. But then they get communication from a different colony in the same system saying hello, something. I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah, so this is the Bajora of the Federation colony on Solarian 4. As long as we're without our homeland, no one will be safe in this sector. That then goes to the opening.
So they spoof a Bajoran war cry, basically, from the same star system, call themselves the wrong name. So hey, that's why they call them the wrong name, because the Cardassians don't know. They don't care to spell check their printed paper. Bajora, just say it. Sorry, Bajora. You're the Cardassians, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sorry, Kim Kardashian Ducat, yeah.
Eugene, 2,000 rubles. The only thing I remember is that episode is called Ensign Laren. It's actually Ensign Ro, but P.S. Multiple Bolians are barbers, yet they don't seem to have hair. LOL. They're that good at barbers. Well, there's a female Bolian in one of the earlier episodes, and she had hair. So, oh yes, she did.
Not the captive one. She was bald. Oh wait, no, you're right. No, she had white hair.
She had hair. I just watched the episode last night. So,
is it still as good as you remember?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I think it's a funny joke. It's a funny, simple joke,
Yep. Squadron course $2. It's hard to get time and distance right in a plot. Yes, this is very true.
But they are unusual. They never say that close. Even at warp 9.975, that's real freaking close. Because you would just say, okay, we're going to go there.
Yeah. Sergeant Montgomery, $5. I never liked Riker being dicky about Ro's earring, and yet Worf can roll around with his chainmail sash, or Worf. Chill out, number one. May the prophets bless Trekyards. Thank you, Sergeant Montgomery. The reason he was hard on her is because she was a criminal, and nobody wanted her on the ship. And they wanted the very highest standard from her as a result. So, of course, he's going to be hard on her. So.
Well, there's a couple levels to it. She was court-martialed, the worst punishment in the Federation, in prison. Like that's
because the first Starfleet officers were killed,
which we don't necessarily know much about yet, but
yeah,
and they don't go into too much detail. But also, Worf Sash is a uniform piece. Rose is a religious piece. You aren't meant to have religious pieces as part of officer uniforms, so they are not the same thing. Sorry, that's why. And I was kind of surprised. Well, she shouldn't have the thing on really, but she's got leverage over Picard at the end, so it's kind of like, oh, you'll bend the rules for me, okay.
It looks like you're missing quite a few stills there. There shouldn't be that next.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Because they approach Lyra Station Alpha, which is the space dock from Star Trek 3.
They
Starbase.
Are double out of order. Yeah, that's weird.
Starbase 73. And it's funny, every time we see this starbase, it's always on the same angle, it's got the same blue planet, and one moon behind it, no matter where it is and how big it is.
Well, that's the classic landing angle, yes.
I know.
Although, boy,
they're just reusing assets, but
I still love the yellow glows on the top and bottom. I think that just accents it so beautifully. Something about that.
Yeah, it does look nice for sure. We get the dude that's got the Cardassian virus. Gets his tea,
which is fine as a little throwaway character thing.
Yeah,
I'm actually fine with that being just like a thing. I mean, it doesn't feel too obviously a thing until a certain point. Once you know he's like a part of the villainy of the plot, you're kind of like, oh, that's a thing. But it's relatively like whatever. Although it also, just like with Picard, with having a headache, and it's like, what the hell's a headache? Having a cold, if you haven't fixed a cold, you'll think it as an audience member, but it's an alien cold. So I kind of like they subvert expectations of, you got a cold, Cardassian cold. And therefore every disease is new again.
Yeah. He explains here, though, that the Cardassians have terrorist problems ever since they annexed during Homeworld 40 years ago.
I wonder why.
Exactly. But in 40 years, they've never once attacked a Federation target, the Bajorans. The Bajora. Goddamn. But anyway, this new militant splinter group, we hear about this. And the leader, Orta, is the guy's name. But he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the attention of the Federation. So apparently they attacked an outpost.
And it's decent setup, but it feels like every other setup and every other alien race doesn't come back. You know? And the way you kind of throw out terrorists, it makes it seem very cut and dry, which is kind of odd considering they explicitly say they annexed it, but because they're one-offs and Cardassians are been in it a couple of times, you're not rooting for the Cardassians, but you're kind of like, oh yeah, they annexed it. You know, who cares? And even with the hindsight, the way they write it is a bit too flippant, considering. Now, that said, it's from later on in the episode, this guy's fully committed to the idea they are horrible terrorists. So the fact that he's selling it one-sided actually makes complete sense. And Picard is obviously, you go and any conversation like this, you go with the vibe of the person you're talking to. So Picard's obviously going in the way of, okay, we get it, terrorists, moving forward. And also this guy has got permission to be here from the council. Like, he's a legitimate, this is a real plan, so it makes sense. It just feels a bit oddly, black and white, but there's a reason for that.
And he also says you have the authority to do anything you need to get this guy.
Yes.
And Picard's like, anything I need to, or like, so yeah, I mean, it's just he's working for the Cardassians. We find that at the end, but they just want this guy dead. So,
which makes sense. I mean, the Bajorans want Cardassians dead too. I mean, there's no stretch here.
Yeah. Now, it should be noted that this is, I think, the first time that we see the new wall in the briefing room, and this is It's I don't know. I don't like it.
It stands
It's
out like a
interesting.
lack of sore thumb because like
Yeah,
oh
it's interesting enough. But if it would have been there all along, it would have been fine. But yeah, it's a weird choice. Something it wasn't it because they were filming Star Trek 6 or something, and they destroyed part of the set that they changed the wall. I don't know. There's some kind of
sounds
story for that, but anyway, worth
yeah
pointing that.
yeah.
Anthony Tuzui,
Thank you.
$5. Ensign Ro Laren, Ensign Laren Toe, Laren Ro. Yeah, we get into that later too.
And DX2069 says, was the episode, when this episode came out, did they know this time was going to be a thing? Yes, they'd already commissioned DS9, and presumably they were writing it, etc. I mean, building sets takes a long time, and so yes, they were already having it be specific. Because remember, Brian leaves in this season to do DS9 next season. There's a crossover point. But yeah, they were like, especially since TNG was so successful, it's not unreasonable to say we want to do a new show. Let's set up a couple of episodes in our current season to this new show that might be huge. It's actually one of the most forward-thinking things they did probably. But then we get an abstract phone call. Oh no, we don't.
I just wish that Ryan would have been the transporter officer for this next scene.
That'd have been good.
Yeah, of the. Do we have a new person come on board? No, not that I'm aware of. Oh yes, we do. And the admiral's like, yeah, I was going to tell you about that. I approve this, Ensign Ro Laren. He's like, oh, Ro Laren, I don't want her aboard my ship. I want some say in who gets assigned, especially to the Enterprise, which I don't blame him. And the guy's like, no, she's a Bajoran. There are other Bajorans in Starfleet. It's like, well, I needed somebody that I could bribe to work for me. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not going to say that out loud.
Well, I've got her family. I mean, what?
Yeah.
No, this is a beautifully written conversation. It evolves wonderfully. Patrick's acting is unusual in a great way. The Admiral is very low key because he's in the right as much as he can be in his mind. So he's just playing it very straight. But it says so much about the choice here that this is the captain of the flagship with a long and storied career. He knows who this woman is. He's like, nah.
I don't want her on my crew, man.
And so
she should be on the Cerritos. They should add a line, especially on the Enterprise. She should be on the Cerritos.
So in our rewatch the 4K, we'll say, Stuart, did Patrick Stewart sound 30 years older for that dub? Yes, he did. He sounded croaky for one line about the Cerritos. Weird. The 4K anniversary. But it's so unusual to see him be this passionate, and so you've got to wonder what she did. And Ro never goes into what she does properly, so you're still left with the sense that she did something really bad that went against the principles of the thing, and for them to fight, especially Riker in a minute, some people wait years to get to the flagship, and you just got here. I mean, although they all know it's a temporary assignment, I'm not sure why they're so bitchy, and they're like, well, she'll be gone in a week. Like, it's not a full-time, she's just there as a liaison. It's a bit, like, they play it so harsh, because we know she's going to be here for the entire season, but in reality, it's like a week or less, and they're already near the star system, so it could even be like 3 days. And given this space station is literally next door to the place that got attacked, she could be there and back.
That's another distance problem, yeah.
Yeah, within a couple of days. I mean, it's not really a big deal. So therefore, she's an insult to be on the ship. Not just mostly, I think, just because he wasn't consulted, but she's an insult to the uniform. Yeah. And there isn't that many people that betray the uniform. Like, I'm sure the cadet, the non Tom Paris, I'm sure he was also a story that spread in the news network.
Nick Letourneau.
Yeah, like that was another name that spread, and so she's just like a mariner, but more famous, and like like I said, Michael Burnham. Like, no, you don't want her on your ship. She is tainted goods. Yeah, made the choice, and now she's in prison. But for him to know that well. Ooh.
Yeah, and Picard even says that she shouldn't be wearing a uniform or serving on a Federation ship, let alone the flagship. Like, those are his words.
Being rewarded for it, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, it's okay, you can handle her, it's fine.
It's just very striking choice performance-wise. It's not what you expect. It's not like I sort of know. It's like, oh, I know, I follow this case with extreme.
And then Picard's like, no, it's fine, number one. Number one's like, huh? I'll tell you later. So yeah.
And that's where the prison line comes in, because you don't expect prison, and it's glossed over, because they know. It's not news to them. Like, because they'll say, she's in prison! But, so I love that downplay, but that raises the stakes to us as like, oh, she's like the most gone. But if you listen to the subtlety, when he does say to Riker, it's okay, his tone becomes much more normal Picard from the dramatic Picard. It's a wonderful shift, but his face is still hard. So it's a lovely little controlling, because he's just such a captain in this. You know, you're sad for how Patrick's acting in Star Trek Picard in comparison. Like, his acting is so much better in this show than that. It's just what he's being written and how he's been directed. He's masterful as a Federation captain. And even this Admiral's not bad as an Admiral. Like, he's just a relaxed guy that's been an Admiral for 10 years. It's all good. I save lives, it's fine. It's all good.
And I love Riker's reactions to her, like the faces he gives her during this episode are like, but yeah, he basically says there's a dress code, and you know, whenever she takes off her earring, and it's a little bit snarky, but
I mean, there is, and he's right. So sorry.
He absolutely is, absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, because remember, he's also in charge of crew, so the insult to Picard of she can't be on the ship is also to him being overruled entirely, and literally she's here in a minute. So it's pissed off in all. It's not just literally at her; it's at everything that's going on. Because now he's also got to redo the duty shifts, and then as he even says later on, I don't want to work with her because she's like a Michael Burnham. She's the worst of the worst. This could cause problems for the next 6 weeks of everyone. You know, this is like a massive deal. It's like getting a serial killer suddenly assigned to your dorm at university. Like, huh.
Well, because that, I mean, goes to the next scene with the ready room. The first thing he says is, there are people on this crew that will not want to work with her, and the implication is, I have to deal with these people. When he's talking to Picard, and the ironic thing about the next scene in the ready room is that Mr. Mott just said that Riker was in yesterday for a trim, but yet his hair here is longer than it usually is. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's just a weird little thing that I caught. It's kind of.
Well, no, he's frazzled too. He's frazzled.
Well, I suppose.
And maybe so. He from the transporter room he said, double speed turbo lift, and the wind rushed through his hair. Okay. Whew.
Well, he was getting a little, he was a little upset that she was there, so he stuck his head out the window into the big turbo shaft cavern.
Fucking Admiral! That's how he vents. Yeah.
Had to yell into the void. Yeah.
And that void's big because Discovery's huge. But again, the context here of that people don't want to work with her. You've never heard that before, ever. And for them to say it without any sense of, there's no, they don't hate her. They hate what she stands for and her reputation. It tells you everything you need to know. It's a beautiful setup because you don't see this from them. It's very, very striking, and somewhat confusing. I'll be honest. But Picard's already committed to making it work, which is wonderful. That tonal shift. Yeah. He's like, well, okay.
Mario, that's not the hair Riker had trimmed. Oh my god. Squadra course, $2. Ever tried to work out duty shifts? That's hard. I mean, yeah, scheduling is a bit of a bitch. So everybody on the B shift doesn't want to work with her, so there's nobody available. Shit. Oh well.
Oh dear.
Anyway, she comes in with her attitude, and it's a whole conversation of like, oh, Ensign Laren, and she's like, Ensign Ro, the family name, whatever. It's an old tradition. Anyway,
and I didn't know that was a thing. I had no knowledge of that being a thing. So does that mean that Kira Nerys should be?
They mention it. No, Kira is the same. They mention it in DS9 as well. So yeah, Kira is.
Or Major Kira, yeah, Major Kira.
Yeah.
Not Major Nerys. But I never considered that.
Yeah.
Never considered that. So I like this, and it doesn't even feel to me that, just as the regulation earring isn't the wrong thing to do, it's how Riker portrays it because he's pissed off. She is perfectly in her rights to ask for a name distinction. It's just the way she presents it is a bit aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that she stands up for herself there. It's like, it's like, well, yeah, this is how it's not my name. My name is this name. But Picard takes it on the chin because it's not an unreasonable request.
Yeah. And Picard's like, listen, I'm going to be blunt. I don't want you here. She's like, I want to be here. And Riker's like, then why did you accept the assignment? He's very gruff. And she's like, well, it's better than prison. I mean, bingo. It's a good enough reason. So, but you got to wonder how bad Federation prison really is. I mean, it's the Federation. Come on now. We saw the resort that Tom Paris was, imprisoned in. So,
But not having a freedom.
yeah.
A prison's a prison, and you could have a beautifully gilded cage is still a cage, especially as you're young and you want to have
They
a
say
life.
that many times in Star Trek
Hmm.
when they get captured.
Yeah, so I really just like that dynamic. Well, I don't want to be in prison. Well, people really want to be on the ship. She's like, I don't know. But it's like she didn't pick this assignment, but then he's also not been briefed at all. So everyone is out of sync, but everyone's still defending themselves. It's quite a fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's very fun. It's a fun conversation.
And then she gets up and leaves, and the
Yep.
door closes. And he's like, dismissed. It's like, yeah, shit.
Well, she's probably thinking, what are they gonna do? Court martial me again?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because she was in prison for, I would assume, at least sort of 6 months to a year. It's kind of the vibe I get. Like enough to be sick of it, but not enough to be, So she's like, I'm not gonna say, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
So I like the scene a lot. Actually, like I say, the setup is really strong considering, but it leads into a potential payoff that we don't quite get. Yeah.
Yeah. But then they arrive at the Valos system on the outskirts of Cardassian territory, where many Bajorans have resettled. We find out there are dozens of. I know. We find out there are dozens of Bajoran camps on 3 Class M planets. And then they're talking about going to see this one leader, and he's a good dancer apparently. And she's like, he's just a figurehead. He's the one that everybody invites to stuff. He's really not the guy to talk to. This is actually quite a good conversation. And she tells them who they should actually be looking for. But Riker's, he has a little bit of a laugh at the dance comment, and then right away he's like, "Is there a problem, Ensign?" It's like, holy shit! You just see this mood change from like the regular crew to like, he's very gruff sometimes.
Well, dealing with a criminal,
Yeah.
a proven traitorous criminal versus one of your best friends.
Yeah.
But it's a fun idea though that of course we have token people who are known to be extra nice. That's just the nature of all things. So I kind of like the idea that she's part of it. Although the fact that they don't ask her opinion earlier, given that the whole reason she is here is to be the Bajoran liaison, you would think that'd be the first thing.
They're dismissing her a little bit because they don't want her there, I think. But yeah, you would think they would. There's a reason the Admiral put her here, right? So
I love that idea that I know who to talk to. Although it seems odd that if she was in Starfleet, I don't know how old she's trying to be. I would assume mid-20s, although she looks older than that to me, but that's just my potential bias.
I'd say late 20s.
Me too. So she's been in Starfleet potentially sort of, including the Academy, 9-10 years. Okay, occupation started 40 years ago, fine, so she wasn't born then. So is she from this? Well, no, she must be from this colony of planets because they don't have warp travel. So she's
from a Bajoran colony because it's never really clarified.
But why would she know him? The guy.
She knows of him.
No, he says I know you and you changed.
Well, he says I'm glad you remember. Yeah, he does. Say
so he knows her directly, implying not that she's from there, but if they haven't got warp travel, then of course she's from there. They never say that though. But how many Bajoran colonies do they have? If they're all stuck across the border and Cardassians just kill them in neutral space, like it's just where is she?
Dozens on 3 planets.
Yeah, but if this is because why would she know the guy? Unless she's from here, unless she's very in with the Bajoran culture. Like, it just seems, underplayed how much potentially knowledge she has. And I kind of wish they had been more explicit that she's born there or something, and she just doesn't tell them until near the end.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
Misha puts in $5 and says, "Good afternoon." So good afternoon, Misha. Good to see you.
Hi there. Yeah, good to see you.
But yeah, she basically says this mission's going to end in bloodshed, but the person you need to see is Keeve Fallor. No diplomatic experience or anything, but he's the one that people will listen to. So There we go. And yeah, that's the guy that does know her. You're absolutely right.
Well, it certainly implies there's no form of government or anything. It's just people living. He just happens to be a famous guy. I'm assuming he's probably big because he's over 40 years old, so he was around before the occupation. It's probably some famous guy early on. He was a governor in his 20s, and then he.
He's new to the power though, because later she says you sound like somebody that's just got a belly full of power that you're like. So to knock it down a bit. I forget the exact quote. We'll get there in a minute, but
Well,
she basically shuts him down.
I assume that was, though, in the sense that a Galaxy-class starship, the flagship, came to you wanting my help. That power. I have the power to make a deal here.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you never had that before. I mean, I will get into that in a minute. I find that. But I kind of wish that Troy piped in here. Well, A, saying anything, but but B, saying, she's really sincere here. Because Ro she's blunt, she's honest. Actually, the entire episode, she's blunt and honest. There's no deception in the general sense. She doesn't tell the whole truth, but she's not deceiving per se. I wish Troy was like, well, A, she's hiding something, or B, no, she is trying to help us genuinely. I wish there was some sort of, you'd think there'd be a scene like that.
Yeah. Then we get the whole. I read about them in my fifth grade reader that they were like artists and architects, philosophers when humans are not standing erect. So it kind of shows you about the Bajoran people. They've been around for a long time, and this is how history has rewarded them. Then the next scene bothers me to no end. If you look at the uniform that Ro Laren is wearing, it's a one piece.
Yes, it is.
And yet, then all of a sudden, she's taking off her jacket.
Yes, she is.
To give to the kid, and there's like this uniform we never really see anymore or again.
Yep.
It's just it doesn't work with the way they're walking in. It's clearly not the same uniform, but whatever.
And not just that. Are you telling me there's a comm badge underneath a comm badge?
No, because there's no comm badge on the shirt she gives the kid. Because I was looking for that too.
Oh, so she took the comm badge off?
She must have taken it off while she was taking the thing off and put it on.
God, that's a sleight of hand.
I know it is.
Because I'm literally looking at the frame.
And the comm badges in this episode are all fucking crooked.
Yeah, that one's awful.
Every one of them.
Oh my God.
Is crooked.
Gosh,
even on Picard.
Bloody
Look at Picard behind her.
Yeah, that's not
great.
It's
crooked the other way. But anyway.
But a couple of notes. I really like the fifth grade thing. It tells exactly this is a history book, old, from when my dad was around, etc. And I appreciate the amount of money spent to build this set. As I've said to you multiple times, you often can justify how much money you spend based on how many minutes on screen it is, because they have these long walk and talks twice. That's like, okay, we've got 9 minutes of our story. That's $10,000 times 9, whatever the number is. So I appreciate that. And it does feel good, but every other part of the episode is a bottle show without a budget feeling. So it's kind of odd. It's all in one segment that doesn't connect. They just walk through it. I need something else there to kind of whatever.
Everybody's saying invisible zipper on the uniform. Doesn't matter. If you look at her walking from the side, it's a one piece. There's no way that there's a separate top. We've looked at enough uniforms here on Trekyards.
I have enough uniforms here on Trekyards.
Pissed me right off.
Well, I mean, you can see his uniform and her uniform. Even at this angle, with my slight enhancement, you can see his line of his second uniform piece. And just the way a one piece sits, it clings to you differently because it's got the inner belt thing, and no, it doesn't fit well. Although her uniform fits phenomenally. She's very thin. Very thin.
Then we meet the guy.
And did the different makeup annoy you because everyone's not wearing Cardassian makeup? They're wearing Cardassian makeup plus like a bone ridge. It's just like, what?
Oh, you mean Bajoran makeup, not Cardassian.
Yeah, that thing. Sorry. It's like, why? And also, is Bajoran... aren't Ro Laren's eyebrows painted on? Because I don't imagine her eye... Because right at the end... because eyelashes go straight and down. Hers go up and around, skipping this entire segment of her eyelash. Unless Michelle Forbes has very, very high eyelashes. I'm assuming, because if you look at the contours of the makeup, it goes up. It follows the brow perfectly. So I'm wondering if that was a makeup choice. It wouldn't be hard to do that. Let me look at Michelle Forbes, because it just feels like a makeup choice to kind of make her feel more alien.
I don't know.
No, they are that high. Wow, they just skip her brow slightly. Although, boy, that picture of her right now doesn't look so good. Oh dear.
Anyway, so they meet Kiva, whatever the hell his name is, and Picard says his name properly, and
yeah.
Ensign Ro has been teaching me, and he said, "Oh, I'm glad you remember." So yeah, it shows that they are familiar with each other. So,
which is nice. I like the vibe these two guys give off. Although I don't know if you caught it, this is all ADR. This entire walk and talk.
Yeah, I did notice that.
That said, though, that guy, very good ADR. He matched himself extreme. Picard is pretty damn good, but they knew this is like a, what, 3 minute walk and talk. Like,
Yeah.
everything in this scene except their close up is an ADR. And so they knew we've got to make, like, you can't just. That isn't a to fix a scene, that's to replace the entire scene. So you can tell they put a lot of time and effort into really fixing it, because there's a lot to fix. And I think it's actually very, very well done considering. But boy, is it the longest ADR I've seen in TNG so far.
Yeah.
Oi, oi, oi.
But the guy basically says, I don't agree with what's happening. I don't believe, the raid on the Federation outpost was necessary. You're innocent bystanders. And he kind of gives a jab at the Federation there, like, you haven't done anything for the suffering of my people. As well, you're in Cardassian space. Oh, so that must be very convenient for you then.
Although that's because you say that, but if they annexed, but Bajor, it was Bajoran space.
But if they annex it, that means it's theirs.
Okay.
So it's Cardassian space.
It just seems a bit odd. Why couldn't you ask for asylum as a race? It's like, well, they conquered our planet. Can we get some help, please? Oh no. Well, now because they conquered you, it's their space. It wasn't their space yesterday.
Well, they'd have to go through Cardassian space to get there, and then that's the Federation declaring war on the Cardassians, doing their thing, even though they had a Cardassian war like 40 years ago, or whatever, whenever, because O'Brien was in a Cardassian war.
Well, yeah, Brian fought in it, so like 10 years ago. It was a border war, yeah.
I don't know. Just whatever. It is what it is. There's no sense getting into it too much.
No.
Honestly.
But I mean, there's so many of these races. Like, how many Klingon worlds have been annexed? The Bajorans can say you should have helped us, but not their place to. Even though maybe they should, but maybe they shouldn't.
Yeah. And the guy's like, maybe we should have just attacked the Federation a long time ago because now you're here. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Smart guy. Smart guy.
Then Picard asks, "What do you think of that, Ro?" And she says, "This is where she says, I think you're a small man who feels a rush of power in his belly and enjoys it far too much. Stop talking and listen." Kind of puts her in his place, which I kind of like.
Which shows she is genuinely on their side, even half genuinely. It's a nice like, you listen.
Yeah. But basically, the Federation's there to, act on their behalf, diplomacy-wise, to get this figured out. And then he's like, "Oh well, the big difference would be more blankets." So Picard's like, "Get a blanket for everybody, and any other medical needs or anything, make sure it's met." And that is a good thing because the guy's like, "That's awesome, thank you."
and just to clarify briefly, the comm badge on Ro's jacket, it teleports because as soon as she undoes it, it's not on there anymore. So so she hasn't grabbed it, undone it, put it back, when actually all she does is this, and we see the same camera move and it's there, so it teleports.
Damn.
Hey, I mean, beaming tricord, beaming thingy-mabobby, and people are saying, what's ADR? Additional dialogue replacement, which is where, for whatever, there's many reasons. It can often be just to fix a performance. You have to record later some dialogue from any actor and edit it back into the scene. Now, most of the time you would actually have this where you're in a booth watching the performance and you have to say it, try and get yourself in the headspace, say it, has to match your own lips, but since it's your own voice, obviously that's easier to do, etc. But you really got to act it, and hiding it is hard because you're also recording in a booth which won't have reverberation, so that's all going to be added in post, which will never be able to perfectly match the existing ADR or the existing audio, although you can get close. That's why it helps if you're in more sci-fi environments, because you have more stuff to blend in. This had a lot of background noise. But his in tune with himself was phenomenal. I know it's all edited, but very, very well done.
And there's a lot of reason for it. There could be a loud noise on set that ruins some audio, or there could be, in this case, they're outside with this long walk, so they can't have a boom mic right by them.
Or they didn't, it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, there's lots of different reasons for it. So.
And I watched a CW show the other day where they clearly used something that shouldn't have been used because they did all this audio crunching to kind of save it, but it was like they saved it, but it wasn't good.
Yeah. And so we find out too that she doesn't want to live like this. She never did. That's why she left. That's why she ran away, essentially. So I think she feels a little bit guilty about that. But
I don't know how she feels. She feels everything, Stuart.
I know. The world hates her. View from Lookout, £1 with no comment, but thank you so much. Means a lot.
Means
And he
more than
also
a
wishes you a
pound.
happy belated birthday.
Ah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So this guy directed them to the next person, which is Orta, the leader of this resistance thing. And they're on their way there. And then we get the 10 forward scene, which is great. Can we sit with you? No. Okay, bye. And then Geordi's like, oh, this must be a direct order because there's no way Picard would let her on the ship. And I don't want to work with her. I don't trust her. I'll never turn my back on her. She shouldn't even wear the uniform. And Guinan's like, that sounds like somebody I want to know. Great. I love it.
And just briefly, to do the blankets before we jump off the blankets.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. But I found that while lovely from Picard, it also tells you the sad nature of the universe, in that these people are struggling to be warm at night. The Enterprise can literally solve that problem today, now, within the hour, done, with zero effort and zero not enough resources even to be worth saying.
Just beam them down some replicators.
Well, I thought that'd be actually I'd do that obviously, but like, you could really help them, and it is literally like a giant coming in and giving you one bit of corn. You're like, I see literally the bank. Okay, so it's like, are you even gonna be grateful when you could literally do anything more?
Yeah, it's like multimillionaires or billionaires
Yes.
that are like, I want to help people. Here, I'll pay for your lunch. Wow, thank you.
Yeah, it's like those charity events when Bill Gates gives like $10,000. You're like, you could give like 10 million today,
and not miss it.
Like,
yeah.
But you only get rich by staying rich. But in this case, there's no lack of money.
Yeah, you only stay rich by not writing a lot of checks.
Yes. Well, I did think it's a little bit clunky, the Ro and Picard exposition as they walk off, because he doesn't respect her yet, and so they play it a little bit too much as they do. I'm wondering, because they obviously shot this at the same time they shot the last scene. I'm wondering if they shot this out of order to that.
I wouldn't say obviously, because the lighting here is very much like sunsetty. Later at the end, it's very much like noon kind of lighting.
Well, I
don't know if that was lights on set, but
so you caught that? No, it's because when they first beam in, it's one level brightness as they walk through the thing. Then it gets more dramatic as the end of the scene, and then the end it's more flat again. So I think they filmed the first scene, the last scene, and the middle scene in that order as the sun's going down.
It was all filmed the same day, obviously, because you're on set, you're on location. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, the sun gets real harsh, but it's less harsh at the end. That's why I think they play it a bit more soft, because they've had a conceptual episode around it, but they kind of forget. Yeah, the tenfold thing's brilliant. And again, the fact that Geordi, who's a lovely guy, is like, I am done with this woman, whoever she is.
I'm going to hit on her because I can't get a woman to save my life. Oh, wait a minute. It's Ro Laren.
But like, Geordi's the nice guy. If he is, I'm done with you, I don't know you. That tells you even the nicest of Starfleet says she's not, not whatever. But kind of sad. Well, as soon as Guinan and Ro start talking, I'm instantly thinking, this is what Guinan could be in this show. She's better in this episode than almost every other appearance she's ever done, because she's given a real appearance. And it makes me sad because she's a real character in this week. She has multiple scenes. She has really good lines. It just shows how little she's used every other time, that she doesn't matter most of the time. And it made me sad, honestly, because she's a real character. It's probably her best episode in terms of like real performance.
It's a great scene. It's very, very Guinan centric, and I love it.
It's beautiful.
You find out here that 8 people died as a result of her actions, and basically, everything she says to Guinan is like, no, I think the opposite. Which is great.
Although we still don't get context.
No.
But Guinan knows enough about the world to know it isn't black and white. But I absolutely adore, I want to be alone. You came to the bar.
Yeah. If you want to be alone, you stay in your quarters. Yeah.
It's like, if you go to a bar alone, you probably maybe want to talk to somebody. Even if it's a bartender. Like, just talk to the bartender. You're not going there to be alone in a place of people.
I disagree. Sometimes you don't have beer at your house. I'll go down to the corner pub just to, like, have a beer and just sit there by myself. I don't want to talk to somebody. I just want a beer.
But wouldn't you go to just the store and get 5 beers at the same cost as one beer?
Because the store's closed. or
Why-
do you just want
when are
one
stores
beer?
closed? When pubs are still open? At what? Are you 3 a.m.? They're 24-hour stores. I mean, what?
Not for beer, not here.
Oh. Yeah, well, we have them in supermarkets, so supermarkets 24 hours if you want them sometimes, like occasionally they are. Then.
Some of them are,
Or
but
like-
there might not be nearby, especially if you don't have a car and you just want to walk or whatever. So, anyway, whatever. The fact is, some
That's a
people
very
go to
specific
bars.
situation, though, you're giving me. Very specific situation.
Not
there.
really, not really. There's many times that I want to do that.
It's 11 p.m, you don't want to drive, you got no beer at home, and you don't want to go to a store that's more than a mile away because you don't want to drive. Okay. Very specific.
Yeah. And it's literally, the pub is just down the street, like a block away. So I just walk down to the whatever.
Oh,
Anyway,
beer's good? That's a better question,
yes. That's the other question. That's the other thing. You know, a nice draft beer instead of a bottled beer. It tastes different. It tastes better. So of course you want to go down there.
though. But I just love the context here.
I do too.
Because I think I'm not sure if she wants a confrontation here, because she's playing it too muted for that, or if she wants somebody to maybe say she was right, because somebody's going to agree with her decision. Because I'm sure there's a rational reason for a decision, even if it goes against Federation principles. So I'm intrigued by why she's there, or is it more of a subconscious thing? Like,
maybe it's because she's been in prison and she just wants to feel like she's somewhere where she belongs.
Yeah.
And having people around.
What do you
can sit
guys
by yourself?
What do you guys think, actually? Because we've been just talking, and you guys are sort of saying things, but not too much just like jumping out. Was like, let's talk.
That's the other thing with the lockdown. I'd be happy to go to a bar and sit by myself, just to have people around, hear bustle of noise, and not.
Well, I need a friend there. If I had a friend there, I could just sit and be quiet and drink. But let us know, why do you think she went to the 10 Forward bar? Because I'm intrigued. What you guys think?
Danny Shields, €20. Thank you so much, Danny.
Thank you. Oh wow.
As the primary school year has been coming to an end here in Ireland after a year of pandemic, I haven't had the time or energy to make a live for a while, but wanted to drop you boys a few quid. Live long and prosper. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
That kicked so much ass.
Speaking of kicking ass, we need to hit 100 likes. We have 85. We have 102 people here. We can easily hit 100 likes, so hit that like button if you haven't, guys. We'd really appreciate it.
Please do. Please do, please do, please do. Yeah, and we do want to know what you guys think. Tell us.
I love how twice she says, I'm Guinan, I 10 bar, and I listen. Which comes in funny moment later when she walks into her quarters. I'm Guinan. I wish she would have said, I 10 bar, and I listen again, but she doesn't.
Yeah, I was hoping she was going to say, I'm Guinan, from the bar. I was waiting for that.
And Zenengo76 says ensigns don't have windows in their quarters, and you're right. Ensign Ro's quarters were quite dark, so that could be another reason as well. Been in prison, you want to look up to the stars. I mean, she's facing the wrong direction for that, but hey, good thinking.
Mario says she was probably hoping for a fight. Yeah, but she wasn't projecting that though. I mean, Guinan's good at, well, although I found this kind of ironic. She doesn't listen. She talked. She's a good listening. You did. You talked at Ro.
She listens when she has to listen.
Yeah. Well,
she listened to what she needed to give the advice she needs to give. So.
I just find that funny because she didn't. But and these two people work so well together. Because they both underplay it, which is weird considering Ro was so aggressive on the scenes. They're both underplaying their moments here. I'm sure. Michelle, is her name? Sorry, I've forgotten her name.
Michelle Forbes.
Yeah, I'm sure she was like, "We'll get Whoopi Goldberg." Whoopi Goldberg? No.
Yes.
Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg. I was thinking Jeff Goldblum. No, Whoopi Goldberg. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to do, like out of the blue. Really good scenes. And you can tell she's really taking it seriously, and it definitely comes across in the performance. Yeah.
Matt Boardman, $5. During quarantine, the sound of the crowd in Madden 2020 football game was so therapeutic for me because it felt like I was around other people. Yeah, I hear you on that one. Yeah. But yeah, she's like, I'm not looking for friends, and Guinan's like, too late. You just found one.
Yeah.
And then she gets a message from the bridge saying she's got a subspace communication, so she's got to leave.
And I did note at the time, they don't say who from, which you would normally say who from. Because it could be a spam call from an Indian call center offering her free
Do you
car
want-
insurance.
Do you want to extend the warranty on your comm badge?
You could have two uniforms. You're both at the same time. Yeah. So I found that odd because
Could have been her parole officer calling her.
yeah, no, seriously. Or it could be her parents, or whatever. So I found it odd that she's so blank from that. But obviously, it's a reveal in 5 seconds, so I get it. It just felt odd by its very nature.
Yeah, I hear you. Anyway, she goes back to her quarters and she's got a message from the Admiral, and she's like, "Everything's going exactly as you predicted, Admiral." And it's like menacing, dun dun dun.
Although not too menacing, it's more just, oh, there's another layer to this. It's not played so much as menace, just as another, there's a reason here.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's a decent balance. Then we get Picard in his uniform.
And they're beaming down to the colony. They can't, of course, the sensors can't penetrate what's in the rocks. Of course, that's why the colony's there. But Ro's not there. Find out she beamed down 6 hours earlier.
That's a long time as well.
Oh, yeah.
Probably didn't sleep.
Because I'm like, the transporter chief, he'd know. Oh, wait a minute. He wasn't on duty at the time. Like, if, Anyway. That's when O'Brien was on duty, I guess.
Well, I found it odd. Later on, they say, I didn't go without permission. I had the Admiral's permission. But wouldn't that say in the logs? Like, what does that mean? What? The transport chief is like, sorry, do you have permission? Yeah, from an Admiral. It's like, can I see some proof? Here's proof. Okay, it's in the logs. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's a paper trail. If there's no paper trail, they should do it anyway. Because it's not implied she, like, sneaks down. She just walks in, says, hey, I'm beaming down, here's the... It's not a prompt per se, it's just the way they play it later on is like a big mystery. It's like, no, you just got orders to go down from the Admiral that you also have orders from. Just check.
Yeah, because even later she says, I've been talking to the Admiral on this mission. At least the subspace logs will verify that. So, yeah, you're right. But
And was it just me, or does this transporter guy's line in his uniform piss you a bit off?
Since I didn't notice it, it probably didn't piss me off. Let me go back and look.
It's just like the zipper doesn't need to be at the front, guys. For low-end costumes.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look as good, and it's unnecessary to the nth degree.
It was one of the prototype experimental ones that just fit this actor, and so they're like, just go with it.
Possibly.
This is because you see a few different weird uniforms during the course.
Because isn't it a season 1 one? It hasn't got the stripes.
I know.
It's a season 3 one that's been.
It was one of the prototype season 3 ones before they come out with the final version, maybe.
Yeah.
Because remember they had the double pleat one, and they're like, nah, that's only like 3 episodes, and then certain characters have it, certain ones don't, and then they get rid of it altogether. It's like they were really messing with uniforms for a while in season 3.
Yep.
So.
Very true.
But then they beam down and get captured. There's basically nothing else to say there.
Yeah, and I unfortunately, when you add more things to the Trek lore, it affects things before it. All I kept thinking when Data and Troy are like, Daj and Sushi can hear things miles away. That was an entire plot point, and yet Data can't hear anything's happening potentially several meters away, and he should be able to do that anyway. So it just feels
the sound dampening plutonium phosphite that's in the rocks that absorbs sound and blah blah blah. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not a very good got ya bitch.
I love how Troy's like Troy to Picard, and Data's like Troy to Picard, or not, Data to Picard, and then Data to Worf. It's like, okay, you needed the man to take over and do this right.
It's like, I don't believe you. It's like try the door a second time. It's like, but it is not.
Did you also notice Troy didn't have a phaser?
Yes, I did.
It's like, oh yeah, you don't need a phaser. You're just a woman. It's like, what the hell?
No, she wouldn't be trained in the same way that the android's third in command is, and your head of security or your captain is. Of course, she wouldn't be trained in the same way. Counselors aren't given advanced phaser protocols like everyone else is. She should have one, but she wouldn't be necessarily trained with them, so I'm okay with it. Just
going into a dangerous situation where before they're being down, Picard's like, Mr. Worf, phaser.
Well, I think a uniform doesn't come with the holster thing. I think that's also part of it. Like they never try to put
the cleavage holster. Just let it in there.
or the other holster.
I wasn't gonna say that. I wasn't gonna go there. I was gonna be
No,
more polite.
I meant the the armpit
Oh,
because it's you do
yeah,
that. It's the
not nature's
stealth one.
pocket. Misha, $5. For the Indian call center joke, I actually had 3 yesterday, including trying to extend the warranty on my car. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, they get captured, and then we meet Orta with his face all melted. He looks like Freddy Krueger. Actually, he looks like Phantom of the Opera. That's the only thing I could think when I saw him. But the voice box thing is very, very cool. I really like that prop. Wish we'd seen more of it, but whatever.
Yeah, it's sort of it's decent, but the fact that it's so flat as a story point, like he didn't even come back later as thanking Picard for not having killed him. Like, you know what I mean? There's an obvious moment to bring him back, and he doesn't strike me as the head of a terrorist organization. Sorry, despite his just the way he's acting. He doesn't even do the plea of we're not terrorists or freedom fighters. Blah 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 blah. I mean, it's a visual over substance. Oh, I like the Ro chemistry of being. She's not sorry because she's under orders, and those orders do override Picard, so she's actually in the right. Logistical Federation.
Yes.
Yes. So I like the body language here of everyone plays it because everyone thinks they're doing it for the right reasons, and even apologizes about the kidnapping, etc. So it's an interesting played scene in the context of how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Picard gets kind of pissed. He's saying you basically screwed up this whole diplomatic situation, and she's like, "Well, I needed to come down and talk to him first, and
for my
make
mission.
Sure everything was fine."
But this wasn't our mission. Well, it wasn't your mission.
Yeah, whatever reason you came down here, you basically put this whole thing in jeopardy because of this. So she's just like, I didn't want this to end in bloodshed, even though in the conference room I said this is definitely going to end in bloodshed. But anyway, and then she's like, you don't know all the facts, sir. And then basically it comes out that somebody's been using Picard and his crew to kill this guy. Like that was the intent. So, and then they kind of, you're a victim of the deception as well. So, but anyway, Fleet Paw is here with $2. Never fear, Fleet Paw is here and ready to play. Ooh, well, welcome. Devo77X, Orta should have appeared in DS9. I do think he would have kept fighting after Bajor was liberated. Yes, that would have been great. Absolutely. He's a memorable enough character that, they should have definitely done that.
Yup.
They're bringing enough other Bajorans in DS9, so.
Yep. Wouldn't have been unreasonable.
They get back on the ship and they're talking about should we believe him? He's got no reason to lie. He fears our reprisal, so he does have reason to lie. But a good back and forth between everybody. And then you see Worf, Ro, and Riker. And Riker is totally checking out Michelle Forbes' ass 3 times. Yeah. When serious shit's going on. He's scoping out her. He's looking her up and down. And he stops on the butt.
Well, he's making sure her skill set fits the duty assignment he's assigning her.
And she's not smuggling any other religious, jewelry on any body parts. I get it. I
do hear that occasionally Bajorans have butt implants, and they stick out and they point, and they could be, that's just, is it?
Oh, the ritual butt plug, Anyway,
that was a. I went from a 5, you went to an 11. Like you just.
Well, you did that earlier with the other pocket.
I did, but yours is way more creative though. Like mine was obvious. You went to the. But speaking of but I like the context here of like he says he destroyed the Cardassian guys, but not the Federation. Although now in retrospect they said later on the antiquated ships they can't attack anybody. How is he attacking Cardassian targets? Unless he's lying to Starfleet saying they've only got normal capable, which is a bit dodgy to lie to an admiral if they lied to you. So, if you can't leave the system, then... That said, though, Calassians managed to go over their border within seconds. They weren't at warp. That wasn't implied. So you can impulse over the border, but then what, is there two solar systems? But if it's over the border at impulse, sure, it's the same solar system pretty much, or next solar system over.
Well, they make a point of saying they've got impulse ships that can't even get to another system later.
Yeah, so how are they attacking Calassian colonies?
Yeah.
Now, I'm fine with people coming to grab this guy, but they do not present the Bajorans as any sort of military threat, and so this reveal doesn't work because they can't attack Calassians either.
Yeah.
Damn it, logic, Stuart. Damn it, Stuart, logic.
Well, this is where the script starts. The plot kind of gets flimsy, though.
Yes.
Like they're stretching here.
This is they've now found the guy.
Yeah.
That's the peak. We're now in the decline.
Yeah. Yeah. Picard says he wants to speak with Ro in the ready room.
Well, speak is a bit of an optimistic term. Talk at.
Oh, yes. Don't leave the ship without authorization. You're confined to quarters. She doesn't even have a chance to really tell him what's going on here yet. So
that said, what he does is fair. Now he doesn't know the admiral's told her to, so but he's not here to explain. But the fact that she's not even fighting that and trying to explain implies that she likes him. She genuinely respects this guy, because already the body language has changed drastically from the original. Because I mean, she saw how he was with the other Bajoran guy, and she can tell that he's not a douchebag captain. So I appreciate her now being more respectful. Actually leads to more of a confusion. If this was scene 1, Ro should say, "Look, Captain." So it's a very quick change, but yeah.
I'll see your captain's permission.
Yeah.
And trump you with an admiral.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Anyway, then she's in her quarters, and this is where Guinan comes in and bugs her. "Hello, it's me, Guinan. I tend bar and I listen. I heard you got grounded." Basically, she doesn't want to talk about it, but Guinan's like, "Well, I was in trouble once, and I had a friend that helped me out." And Ro's all pissed off here because she feels like she can't do anything for herself. Everybody's pulling her in every different direction, like she's on strings. And Guinan's like, "I think there's somebody, you need to talk to a friend of mine," is basically what it comes down to. And then they go see Picard. So, but this is a really, really good scene, and Guinan, like you said earlier, is a very good character in this episode. And actually, this one, when I was watching this scene, all I could think of was Rascals.
Yes.
Where Guinan's like telling her to jump on the bed and have fun and to smile. It's like, yeah, you're seeing the beginning of that friendship here, and it's carried over so well into Rascals. So
I'm sure they saw the genuine chemistry between these two actors and thought, "Oh, this is a good dynamic," because it does come across. And I like how it's a real dark set, like the way it's lit, but she's in the dark with one spotlight. The rest of the room is pretty damn bright, as you expect, and she's in the shittiest part of her quarters is the bedroom bit. Because it's the same set as every other quarters, that's the point.
Yeah.
Or at least the secondary quarters. Those sets are fine.
it seems more like Data's quarters redressed.
Yeah. But she's punishing herself on a crappy futon, it feels like, on the sofa. So I like that side note. And
then we get the... sorry.
And Guinan notes about you're like an opposite person. What you say is not what I listen to. I like that. Yeah. That's nice. Although I thought this is a less good outfit for Guinan. Doesn't flatter. Like, it feels a bit odd. Like, she has good outfits. The thing that doesn't quite suit her as well. This uniform.
We also get the story for Guinan of like, I was in serious trouble, and I mean serious trouble. It's like, what happened? We never really find out. And she's like, I'd probably still be there if I hadn't trusted one man. And that cuts to the ready room.
I mean, isn't that just implying times are at the end of the season? Because everything's about the bald man. I was waiting for her to say, "a lovely bald man." Because they wouldn't have written times are at this point, because they don't tend to write the second half before the first half. They might have had the idea early on, so they might have had it in their brain. Because it feels pointed now, times arrow happens, but how can that be the most important thing in her life? If that was a mediocre emergency? Like, Enterprise B was a worse emergency than Times Arrow was.
And she didn't play a big part in Times Arrow, really.
No.
So it wasn't really that she was in serious trouble, and she means serious trouble. Like, I don't get that from Times Arrow.
No, but but knowing it's this season kind of is like, well, she gets an episode.
Yeah.
Although I wish she'd name dropped something really kind of cool, I was with Captain Spock with this, like give us a bit of fun context because it's so abstract. Throw out a big name without even meaning it. Or well, you can't say Captain Archer, it doesn't exist yet, but whichever. But yeah, then the way she walks into Picard, it kind of shows that she can be like, down boy,
Yeah.
you listen, sit, I leave, you do what I say. But it still comes across enough as like, I'm your grandma, I know best. So it's not disrespectful. It's
perfectly done.
Yeah, but Ro is respectful. Like the way everything bounces on, it's real interesting actually.
The flow is really great. Like she's got some stuff she has to say to you. She's confined to quarters. Yeah, but she's my friend. Bye. And she knows that when she says that she's a friend, Picard's going to be like, okay, because he even says it. She's very selective about her friends, so she sees something in you. So that's giving him the
might be an alternate timeline, might be who knows, but it's something.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, then she says, "Oh, go ahead."
Well, this is the scene. I think she doesn't feel quite like Ro. I think they've already lowered her hostility so much at this point. She feels like like I don't necessarily quite buy. She's like, I don't know who to trust. I think it's a little bit too far to fall. I like the scene, but this should be like part 2, or I don't know. Felt a little bit too far.
Well, she basically says, no matter what happens, I'm probably going back in the stockade anyways. You might as well know the truth. That I've been in touch with the Admiral Kennelly, during this time because he came to me in prison and arranged for me to go on this mission. And he's like, I know that part. And she's like, no, sir, not this mission. One for him and only him. But yeah, then we find out that he was the one that ordered her to beam down. And I love Picard's reaction to it too. Like, you're telling me you've been in touch with Kinley during the course of this mission? And she's like, yeah, even the logs will verify that. So I'm not lying about that because you can check the logs. So, because it would suck having nothing that you say be believed by anybody. Like that would really suck.
Although I don't know quite why Picard's so dramatic about you talk to the Admiral. It's like, she was handpicked by the Admiral.
Yeah.
So I'm not that surprised you talked to the Admiral. Like, if she was his liaison, she would send reports back. That's okay.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Like, it wasn't clandestine. He just called her.
We also find out too that the Admiral wants to supply weapons and ships to really make a difference against the Cardassians in the future. So there I got the big red Maquis, red flag kind of thing going off in my head.
Oh, so they gave them the Peregrine fighter prototypes.
Maybe.
Peregrine.
Hey.
Maquis, back to Peregrine. Yeah.
There you go.
Which came first, the Peregrine or the Maquis Raider? Chicken or the egg?
The upsizing still doesn't work.
Yeah, so. But we'll get to that bit when we get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, she basically says if you ask him about it, he's going to deny it. But I mean, of course he would. So.
Also, briefly, Martin says, also in Best of Both Worlds, she references Time's Arrow. She can't have because that wasn't written yet. So she didn't.
She just referenced being helped by a bald man, or bald man was kind to her or something.
Was that it? I thought that was a later season. I thought it was a reference after the fact.
I think that might have been. I don't know.
So I thought that was in Time's Arrow specifically to make a point. And then, yeah.
James McGill, $2. Surprised we didn't see Ro in DS9 Lost Potentials. Well, she was supposed to be Kira. Like, she was supposed to do that role, but she turned it down. So
yeah, she didn't want to be a series regular and be on the show. So it was that close. But it would have made so much sense to bring her in at some point. Shocking they didn't.
Anyway, here we find out the story that she was basically saw her dad tortured and she felt
shame
for him being weak. But yeah, we get her backstory and it's like, okay.
I mean, it's good. It's well acted. It's again, for as weird as it sounds, it's underdone because she's internalized it for like 25 years. So it's the trauma that didn't even start her on this path necessarily, but it's the thing that she remembers and hates doesn't like being a Bajoran force. It's a different point in her life.
And we also get
yeah.
her reasons for the Federation here. She goes, I serve the Federation, but I am Bajoran, and Starfleet Admiral presented me an opportunity to help my people in their fight against the Cardassians. It's not why she got into Starfleet, I guess, but...
No. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
She wanted to escape all of that Bajoran stuff. But I kind of like the fact that, yeah, she was in prison, she had time to think. I'm sure she saw all the new things happening, and then said, F this, Starfleet abandoned me, I abandoned them, I'll be Bajoran. So, prison changes people. So prison got her to remember her old self. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't even want to wear the earring until prison. And that's why she came on as a statement.
Well, yeah, because she did say she was embarrassed to be Bajoran as a result of her dad. So,
which is obviously a good growth arc if she was given that arc.
Jay Donaldson, $2. Everyone's in on this, including McKinley, including. Anyway, so Picard's like, did you tell Orta about this? She's like, no. He's like, good. I probably saved you from another court-martial. And then, have you reported to the Admiral since you've arrived back on the ship? And she's like, no. And it's like, all right, cool. We got to put in.
Problem is, it's a very obvious plan. There isn't much subtlety here.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest problem. So this is the weakest part of the episode. It just kind of is one big sort of joke. Although I like the 3D free screen. We always do.
Mm-hmm.
But even like Patrick's acting, he's playing it up a little bit, and yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so the Enterprise is supposed to escort this Bajoran, these terrorists, or these whatever, to the new camp. And,
so that's the original guy, I assume, because that was on the main planet, and this is one of the moons. Because it's in the same solar system, otherwise they can't get there.
Yeah.
Because they're sublight, and they can only go half impulse, which isn't fast at all.
Half impulse, yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
But they tell Kenley, and he's like, yeah, just keep us apprised of your progress. Awesome. So.
But
and then he asked about the Cardassian virus. Oh, by the way, how's that Cardassian virus? A lot better, thank you. Ah, that's good. I'm pleased.
It's a great reference to itself. Although I actually like his acting. He's like, "Oh, you did remember. Hey, thanks." He plays that quite well. Quite like the Bajoran ship. I've used this Bajoran ship in CG because they've replicated it for DS9, so I know the ship quite well. It's quite satisfying to see. We get some model things. And then we just get instant, blatant, Cardassian ships on the other side of the border, and they're matching our speed and course. And you're thinking, well, so you're literally 1 second from the border. It's not a real border if you can cross it and not start a war. It's not a real border then. It's a soft border. If you're in the Bajoran neutral zone, no man's land.
There's usually a buffer between borders a little bit anyway. So.
Well, this would be the DMZ, wouldn't it? Because they do call it that at some point with Maquis.
Yep.
The DMZ. But the way they still play it is so like obvious and blatant and not very action satisfying. It's like, yeah, there are two ships. Like you would have detected them earlier as well.
Two top of the line galore ships, or galore. He says
the class. Although I wish it said, Ms. Worf, which class is it? It's a ship we've got a model for. Excellent. Because that's how it feels.
Make them a threat. We'll make them a threat. They're top of the line. One could go toe to toe with us, but two
will win. What? And then they pop in great lighting effects, although reused from an older episode, I believe. And they've refined the makeup a little bit. Less body, more face. He's creepy. His eyes are different heights. He does well. And it's the most polite posturing, which is great.
Can we help you? You're our friendly neighbors. Yes, we love our relationship with you, our neighbors as well. Yeah. But yeah, basically you're you're escorting terrorists. We don't have a problem with you. You just back up. What are you going to do with them? Oh, we're going to destroy them.
Just murder them.
Oh, well then, I got kind of a problem with that. I don't know. It's just a great conversation.
But it's so hammy. Like, you know exactly everything. It's just, you know. I wish there was a double payoff, or I wish the terrorist guy was on the ship and could walk out. Although you would think they'd scan the ship and know no one's on the ship. The Bajorans are so in advance, they haven't even got warp drive, they wouldn't have scanners that can block people's sensors, and the Federation can't actively help them enough to give them tech to do that. Oh, is that breaking the treaty with the Cardassians? So, and what even is the, you know, and what
the first clue was it doesn't even have visual capabilities, just audio.
I thought that was
it's
odd.
like, because I thought, damn, what is this, like during the original Battlestar, or not Battlestar Galactica, but the Starfleet battles, Romulan War, where they didn't have visual communications, like that, how old their ships are, like seriously?
It's like you have had ships with warp in it, you can't have view screens.
Yeah.
Which, you're right, it makes sense in the context. And you can kind of tell that everything they're saying on the comm is being monitored, and so they're saying it by the book, you know, hours instead of minutes, you know, by the book.
Yeah.
And which is great, actually. I think it works quite well. But it's a bit, it's just...
I like some of the dialogue here, too. Like, is that a threat? It's like, if you do not withdraw, we will take great offense. It's like, oh, well. Yeah, nobody's stepping on anybody's toes. What they're doing, well, they're dancing around the subject very politely. Because that's one of the main things that Picard was told by Kelly, whatever the hell the Admiral's name is. Your number one priority is maintain the peace treaty with the Cardassians at all costs.
Yes, which was more blatant in the previous conversation. That highlight was... Well, I mean, to be fair, though, in the context of this, you fought the Cardassians for a lot of years. They are relatively powerful. Bajorans are nobodies. Sorry. Like, they're one planet with a couple of colonies. They're, you know, like, not in a mean way, just... You're not going to go to war over them, and who are terrorists, who self-proclaimed attacked Cardassian places with terror, because they aren't just attackers, they're terrorists, which implies they're attacking colonies in, you know, non-big strategic, you know what I mean? They're presented in a specific way, which is not just we're fighting back, they're terrorists. You know, Starfleet calls them terrorists.
I actually found the line that I was looking for. Sorry, I got it wrong. Is this intended as a threat? It is a complaint.
Yes.
From your Cardassian neighbors.
Beautiful. Beautiful dialogue, yeah. But we get stalemate, so he calls the Admiral and was like, oh, yeah, I mean, hey, if they gotta die, then you gotta leave. And Picard's like, I don't want to do that. But it's a game of chess where you can tell it's not... It feels as if they're both playing the game, but the Admiral's sincere. I don't know, it doesn't... It's just, it was almost dull to watch, honestly. Because unlike the scene with him and Tomanak or the other Admiral where the Klingon ships turn up, there's a twist. There's no twist here. It's exactly as you think it's going to be, you know?
Picard even says, you know, it's pretty obvious. The big picture you're talking about is different than my big picture. I see you meeting with the liaison, with the virus, finding out about this terrorist leader, and figuring out that maybe the Federation can help solve the Cardassians' problem for them because they can't find him. I love it. And he just calls him out, essentially. And he's like, I think you lost your perspective, Captain. We'll discuss this when you return. So I'm giving you a direct order to withdraw. And that's how it ends. And he just sits back in his chair.
It's weird to say, I order you to let them get murdered.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. Like, it would have been slightly more believable if he'd said, well, the Cardassians, why wouldn't the Cardassians want to, you know, get the leader of the terrorist cult and get information out of him? That would make more sense than murdering them all. Because the leader is only as good as, well, the next in line who isn't on the ship, and any good terrorist cult doesn't take second, third, and fourth in command on the same ship to go and talk about peace.
Yeah,
you know,
different terrorist cells. We learn about that in DS9. That way, one cell doesn't know what the other cell's doing, so if one cell gets caught, they can't. Yeah.
But this is kind of... Well, no, this isn't before that, because that was the whole occupation. Well, briefly,
that was the occupation, yeah.
We're at some reviews, some likes, some number of super chats. Give us some more goals, Stuart. I want some more. Want some more goals.
108 likes. I think we get to 120. It's 12 more likes, guys. It's very doable. And honestly, another $60 in super chats would be great if possible. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode at the end and what you think of Ro Laren, like lots of different things. So if you can, please consider super chatting. It would be great.
Yeah, and I'm just going to pop out for 1 second and back in a second.
All right. So yeah, while he's gone, guys, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Specifically the episode, obviously, because we're reviewing it, but also Ro Laren, because we know she comes back a few times. And like, would you have liked to seen her as Kira? It would have been interesting, but I'm glad we kind of got Nana Visitor. She did a fantastic job as in the character, which I didn't like Kira to start, but by the end of the show, I did like her. So it's worth saying that. Ro, I never really got a chance to like. So let us know what you guys think about Ro and this episode specifically. Would be great. So Jeremy S says, I like Ro. She's one of my favorite recurring characters. Well, there you go. One of her early assignments was on USS Wellington during an away mission to Gowron 2. Yeah, that's where she disobeyed some direct orders and 8 people got killed as a result. So but anyway, basically Picard orders the withdrawal, set course back to Federation space, and you see the Galaxy class bank off, and the 2 Galore ships go in, and well, I'll wait till Sammy gets back because spoilers. Devo77 says, I liked Ro. Thomas says, I'm glad we got Kira, but it would have been cool to have Ro on DS9. Yeah, it would have been a nice tie-in. Same with the O'Brien thing. Like, I love the way O'Brien just naturally progressed to DS9 and even Worf. That was great. Ghostbusters Quick Response Unit. I'll take Kira over Ro any day. I would definitely agree with that. Absolutely. Martin Devon, I like Ro in Conundrum when their minds are all wiped. Yeah, that's a good one. She was at Macho Grande. She doesn't talk about Macho Grande. What if Ro met Kira? I wonder what that would look like on screen. And Fleetpaw says, I don't think Ro would have made a strong main character, but I would like to know what officially happened to her during the war. I always just assumed she got wiped out with the rest of the Maquis once the Dominion stepped in, because basically all the Maquis got destroyed. So that's what I assumed happened to her character. She could have survived, of course, but I'm sure she's in some of the books or beta canon as to what happened to her character, but I was under the assumption that when the Dominion came in and wiped out the Maquis, that Ro was probably one of them. But again, beta canon is probably in a novel that she's survived or something. So.
Yes. Hi there, back in.
Hi. So we just set course back for Federation space, and then the
the
Cardassians come in and destroy the ship. Boom.
And I was thoroughly underwhelmed by the weapons fire. It's as if these ships.
It was nice color.
Okay.
Nice pink color.
But it's so underwhelming that that's all it takes to destroy them. And again, you're wondering, and these are the guys that attacked and destroyed your outpost? On a border, which means you have more security, with a race that's known for being a warlike species, who also know there are Bajorans on your side. You know, it's like, I wish it was some bigger, grander sort of pew-pew, but it's not. It's just a pew, blowy-uppy.
Matt Boardman says in the book she ends up on Deep Space Nine. Well, there you go. They solved the problem. Tenchi 2K7 $10. I like Michelle Forbes, Ro Laren. It would have been nice for Ro to recur in DS9. Absolutely, and it was a perfect fit. I mean, I just don't know why the actress. I don't think they approached her after she turned down the role of Kira, but.
Well, I mean, Kira was designed with the. You've already had the arc with Kira and evolved it, so you then have to go back to square one. And you're right, the Maquis thing is different, and then you couldn't bring her back for one thing, and she got more famous after that. So it'd have to be a bigger part, and she's the same character as Kira.
Yeah.
And come on, at a certain point, they need to focus on the Bajoran terrorism subplot at a certain point, and she's not Starfleet anymore. So I guess there's no natural place for her to be without resetting her once again. Although I think they could have done that, and they should have done that. But certainly Dominion wartime, she's so unimportant in the grand scheme that
Matt Boardman, though, $5. The first rule of Garon 2 is we don't talk about Garon 2. I know. Anyway, Admiral Kinley's like, hey, how's it going? They got destroyed. Oh, everybody's dead. No. Oh, they're survivors. No. They were never on the ship. Was this your idea, Picard? Actually, it was Ro Laren's idea.
See, you can never trust a Maquis terrorist. Well,
or a criminal.
I mean, I'm a Bajoran non-terrorist. Kira, I was like right there with Kira, whatever. Well, I love the context of he wants a private, secure transition with your crew, with your ready room. It's like, nah, bridge V screen, and he doesn't register. He doesn't have any sort of like he would see. I'm not in his ready room, but he talks, as freely as. But it's a good little reveal, and he seems pissy, but not too pissy.
Yeah. And Picard's like, I'm more concerned with upholding the integrity of Starfleet. So, love that. There's Picard at his finest all the time.
It's like classic, you shouldn't just follow orders, except when Picard tells you just to follow orders.
Yes.
Because that's the whole point. He was given an order by an admiral, who was presumably got orders from Starfleet. Well, when did they talk about the weapons thing? Was that Ro? Ro said that earlier?
About what?
Giving weapons to Bajorans. I guess we'll have to double back to that because we've skipped past that scene. We never talked about it again.
We talked about it at the time. I said that she in the ready room. She says to Picard, "Yeah, the Admiral's plan was to give them weapons and ships to fight the Cardassians in the future," which made my red alert bells go off for the Maquis as the beginning of the Maquis. So we did kind of talk about it.
Well, I was waiting to go back to that because that's bigger concept. But you need to give them really useful ships because hand weapons wouldn't really help. You need ships, and you'd have to give ships that weren't traceable to Federation, and many of them, and they have to still be the hit and run because you can't fight galores. They're meant to be capable with Galaxy class, and you haven't got many of those. So I'm not sure what you're really aiming for. And if the Admiral dude... Well, no, the Admiral dude thought they were... I mean, it was all a lie, wasn't it? He offered weapons and ships.
Yeah.
But he wanted to kill him. So it was always a lie. Just offer him everything he wants, I guess. So it's irrelevant, really. There's never a plan to give them stuff. It was just a ploy. And do you think that... So I'm sure he got some sort of permission from the Federation Council to do that. 'Cause it seems quite... if this was any other race, then it's quite cut and dry. We got attacked. We've got opportunity to have one of our friends deal with the problem, the top dog problem, and we don't have to have our hands dirty. Politics dictates. I guess that's fine.
Yeah, because there would have to be there would have to be a few levels of people knowing what the hell's going on. It can't just be one rogue admiral,
So I don't get the sense from his acting he was going rogue. He was just logically dealing with a problem that's a bit dodge, but I mean there is a bit dodge happening. Doesn't mean it's not, because also if this planet, this Federation outpost was say a quite well defended one, and it was just annihilated, then if they know it was Bajorans, then they've got tech that beats their defenses, and so they're a bigger threat than you think. So if you can take out the head of the threat today, the Cardassians are offering that. How many lives are you going to save all the way down the line? So I can see it as being quite a simple, equation that Federation might sign off on because, we'll save more lives in the long run, middle run. We can't let them having all these powerful starships, etc.
Yeah, the starship thing kind of confused me because I'm like, what are they going to give them? Like Miranda classes? There you go.
Yeah. And Devereaux says if Worf is allowed to wear that sash, Bajorans should be allowed to wear the earring. No, one is religion, one is ceremonial uniform. Klingons, that isn't a religious thing. It's just a part of the uniform, and I'm sure he got permission from people. It was a specific religious thing. The Starfleet doesn't support religion, but it supports culture.
Yeah.
Just because the Bajorans' religion is true, doesn't mean it's not a religion in the context of religion, which is not part of Federation's whatevering. So you wouldn't expect to see all the religious garb because it's a uniform. You are
Let's keep in mind that the Bajorans are not part of the Federation at this point.
Yeah.
If ever. So it could be that if they were a Federation world, there might be some way for her to be able to wear it as part of a special exemption. But if they just want to join Starfleet, but they're not a member world, I don't know. That might be something as well. So
yeah. And Sergeant Montgomery says, yes, but the Warrior Way is a religion. But it's not a religion.
It's not, though.
Isn't a god. And so it's not. You can say they act like a religion, but it's not actually a religion. There is no... I mean, there is Feklar, but they don't pray to... there isn't any god of... You know, there's a devil, but a devil of old myths. So it's not a religion. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like when you call atheism religion. It's like, it's not. Most things aren't religion. Only religion's a religion. That's why. Right. That's why the joke in Futurama of Star Trek being a religion with a church is more funny, because it's not a religion, but some people treat it with the the love and respect of religion. That's the joke. Yeah.
The fervor of a religion.
All power to the big koala in the sky. See, I modernized it.
You did.
Midway.
You did.
Oh dear.
This is where Picard kind of lays the truth on him. He says, you know what, their ships couldn't even reach another star system, let alone attack one.
Yep.
Anyway. Find out basically the Cardassians were responsible for the destruction of the Federation colony, and then at that point I'm like, all right, that's an act of war. We're at war with the Cardassians now officially. No, it's not. But okay. They say the Cardassians staged it. That was the wording. But did they hire somebody else to go in and destroy it? Possibly. So they wouldn't be caught red-handed. Maybe. Mercenaries or something. But still, I consider it an act of war, attacking or killing Federation.
Yeah, and that's a really great point. But maybe just the fact... It almost feels, now you've said that because this admiral's now discredited, therefore these people's lives aren't worth anything to have diplomacy and that you killed them, blah, blah, blah. Although maybe it's too much of an embarrassment for Starfleet, they're going to sweep it under the rug. But it's like, did the truth come out that it wasn't the Bajorans? Because that's quite a big thing to turn these people, the refugees that are attacking the people that usurped their natural land versus attacking the peaceful people next door for no apparent reason. Yeah, the diplomats had a real day that day. It's like, you massacred our people. Yes, we did. Your counter to that? No.
Next order of business.
Column B. Self-sealing stem bolts. Ah, yes, we care about those.
Eugene, 500 rubles. There aren't no Klingon gods. Klingons killed them. Anyway, I don't see any principal difference between Earring and Sash to treat them differently.
Okay.
Fleetpaw, $2. Nobody here but us Cobarians. Cobarian.
Fleetpaw, clarify.
Anyway, then we get the last scene with the
back to ADR.
Yes. Better done though, I think.
Well, it's because half the scene they pull the camera away, and so you can't see.
Basically, they're talking about him probably going to be having the admiral's going to be court-martialed. She's like, "Hey, tell him to get a room in the East Wing because it's not as hot," which is kind of funny. And then she wants to, because they're going back to Lyra Station. She's like, "Can find transport another way to get back." And he's like, "I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should stay, in Starfleet." And she goes, "Well, I don't think that, it's quite for me. The uniform doesn't fit," as she says.
I think it fits real well. She's very slender.
I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's better than you, Picard, Mr. Patrick.
She says, Picard says, "I've noticed qualities in you that could be harnessed, molded." She's like, "Don't count on it." He says, "I think you got a lot to learn from Starfleet." And she's like, "I think Starfleet has a lot to learn from me." And he's like, "I've heard the same thing from people that have become really fantastic officers." So.
And that, I think, is the best line, because that I can see as being a genuine response. Everything else is a bit buttering her up without that much rationale. But that, I think, is a very genuine line.
And then it's an interesting challenge, and I never turn down an interesting challenge. But there would be one condition. And she puts on her earring, and he, smiles and beam us up.
We make compromises, if he gives a special permission, that's fine. Although Ghostbusters says, I think it was ignorant of Picard to not know Bajoran surnames came first, very un-Picard.
They mention it in the line of dialogue. They say that's an old custom that Bajorans have long since dropped in an attempt to assimilate and not cause any problems. So they mention it in the episode.
Well, and not just that, but do you realize how many species are in the galaxy? They aren't part of the Federation. Yes, they're in the history books, but that was 40 years ago. They're not necessarily going to cover surnames when you've got the, bigger things to fry. And do you realize how many cultures there are? That's A-OK. Only in DS9 when they become a relevant species would you be like, why do you not know about this? They are a nobody in the grand scheme. Sorry.
And it's not like they're a civilization that's long since gone. He would be studying archaeology, something he really is passionate about. Mm-hmm. Like he said, he read about them in his 5th grade reader. That's kind of implies that's basically all he knew about their culture. So it's not necessarily that's going to be in a 5th grade textbook.
Yeah.
Necessarily, right?
So it's like saying, what's the East Asian custom for shaking hands in a, whatever. It's like, well, why would most people know that? Or in in Mexico, what's the thing that you do when you sneeze? It's like,
Well, even a lot of them don't know it because they don't practice it anymore, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Archaeologist, not a living personologist. Although I thought Patrick's...
Anthropologist.
There you go. Thank you. I thought Patrick's smile was really unnatural. Like, it's Patrick Stewart smiling at something he finds fun, not Picard smiling at. Like, it's really big just for her pioneering because I've played poker and now you lose. It felt so unnatural to me because he's never smiled that big from what I can remember, and it's like the least important thing to smile at. It's weird.
It's the end of a long day of filming in the hot outside weather, and
he's gone a bit loopy.
He knows he's going to hear cut in a minute, and he's standing across from a very attractive woman that he's...
Well, no, that was the cut bell. There wasn't scripted. I was just like, and cut. Okay, cut the camera now.
We're still rolling. Good. Keep that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. I wouldn't say it was a rushed end by any means. It was more of a rushed last third.
And yet drawn out.
It
could have been.
Needed a twist.
Yeah, there was a moment there, like 20 minutes from the end, 15 minutes, where it's like some of the dialogue is just like, okay, we've heard this. Let's move on. Yeah, they're filling some space, I think, some time.
Well, they're just long drawn out way of saying a simple thing. So
now, guys, it's that time of the night. We need another $30 in super chats would be great.
Yes.
Possible. Another 3 likes to get to 120.
I'll say 13. I'll be confident. Say 13 more likes.
Oof. Yeah. Oof. Well, there you go.
So click like right now. If you like us, this episode, our review, our scene-by-scene breakdown, because it has been... I really like our scene-by-scene breakdowns. Yeah, they're in-depth, but they're informative, they're interesting. You point out things I've never seen. Now...
And it's also the time where you get to super chat your scores out of 10 this episode.
And all TNG.
For this season of TNG and all of TNG. So out of 10. If you super chat them, I'll read them after we're done giving our reviews. And if you just do it in the regular chat, Samuel will read those out. So if you guys want to do that, plus there's a last super chat slot available as well. So if you want to snipe for that right now, Fleetpaw has it. So
and this is an easy way of just telling us what you thought in a review score, because we're gonna read them all. So put them in the chat right now, and we're on 21 likes. There's only 9 more likes till we hit on 30. You guys can do it. You can hit us right. Let's click like right now. But Stuart, straight away I'll say, did you like this more than you were expecting?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I did.
And what did you think in general?
Like I said, it was good to actually enjoy the episode because I was actually paying attention to it. I find like when I'm not interested in somebody or a character, sometimes I'll kind of tune out. And I think that was the case here because I didn't remember a lot of this episode going in. So getting an introduction to the character that I know where she goes from here was good to rewatch. The Badmiral was good. He kind of came across as a bit of a dickhead from the beginning, so I mean it's fine. Some interesting characters and an idea that evolves into the Maquis and leads into DS9, which is another in the moment of when this aired, it wouldn't have had the same feel as it does now with all the back history behind it when you've seen everything. So I thought that was very interesting leading into the Maquis and things like that. So that's great. Um, not every character gets a chance to shine, really, but that's okay. That happens occasionally. Riker's kind of gruff in this episode, but I can understand why at the same time, so it's fine. And other than that, yeah, about halfway mark, it just kind of hits a wall where it's like, okay, this could be done now. But they kind of have some filler and just some dialogue that gets repeated quite often. So some really great Picard moments, though, for sure, in this one. And knowing where Ro comes from and his initial reaction to her, and then knowing how it ends with her, where he kind of has... she's regained his trust and then betrays him again at the end of her run. I mean, it's interesting to see the progression in this episode and just how this episode ended with the earring thing and him wanting her, from not wanting her on the Enterprise because she was a criminal to wanting her to stay aboard. I thought was really well done as well. I don't know if it was earned necessarily. The fact that she told him the truth about the Admiral and they came up with a plan, I don't think justifies it totally. But that being said, I did like seeing the progression. So other than that, the Galore class ships were nice. The Cardassian was kind of funny looking. I don't know. Not the best episode, honestly. For season 5, I'm going to give it a... Do you have a list up? The list?
I've got the score sheet, yeah.
Oh, okay. For season 5, I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. For all of Trek, I'll probably give it
all TNG. Just clarify.
All TNG, sorry. All TNG. I'll probably give it a 4.5 out of 10. It's one that I don't really want to ever revisit because it is such a simplistic plot. But there you go. And I'm not a big fan of Ro, so...
It's interesting because below average, but there's not... The dialogue in the first third is so crisp.
And I forgot to mention as well, the dialogue between Guinan and Ro is fantastic. So, it's a good Guinan episode, let's put it that way.
It is one of her best, which is sad.
Yeah.
And because, there's a big problem when it comes to any storytelling where, when she's in Q, when she's fighting the Borg in the first Borg episode, yes, Guinan is doing good, Whoopi is doing good as Guinan, but it's all dialogue based on an action situation. This episode is just character to character. That's where you get real character moments, because it's just being quirky character. So she's better in this because she's being herself. She isn't just talking about the Borg. That's whatever. And guys, do put in the super chat scores. Normal scores, we got $16 away and 6 likes. 16 and 6. We can get there, guys. And comments. But yeah, so for my final review score and comments, I had no expectations going in, so I'm blank slate of enjoyment. Like I've said since the beginning, started surprisingly strong, continued surprisingly strong, dips, doesn't ever recover, but it's just because it's not smart enough to grab us. It needed a double reveal. Needed something cool, needed some powerful end, and the fact that the last scene is clearly just the same day as the other scene, and with the same exact art design and style, and not even the leaders there. Like, it falls flat. It needed to have a moment where the terrorist guy walks in and talks to the other guy, and some bond is made, or some kid has got a blanket. Wouldn't it be nice if that original kid that she was uniformed to brings a blanket to Ro, and it's got you could have something really strong to end on. It really didn't. I mean, the earring, yes, but to link to the reason they're even bothering to be in the camp. Why are you there if you're not going to make any point of using it? Except same day, money, whatever. So the last third was definitely weaker. The Ghana stuff was really good. And always with these episodes, if you give the guest star the real focus, everyone else suffers. Beverly and everyone else suffered to the nth degree. Mm-hmm. They're all given one moment. One. But, for an ensemble show, one moment is not really enough. But I still enjoyed it pretty well. I think her acting was pretty darn good. And I like the fact that she had female sideburns to the same cut. I don't often associate women with sideburns, let alone the correct pointy. I was like, oh wow, okay, you full on. I've never registered that ever before. Just quite impressed with.
Never even noticed.
Yeah. Because I mean, I have to think that way when I'm filming because I'm meant to be Starfleet in it, etc.
Yeah.
This is so hard. We don't know the rest of the season, so me reviewing for this season is basically throwing water into a night. It's like, I don't know, it lands somewhere. Who the hell knows? All TNG I think is a bit more fair. I'm going to give this a 6 for all TNG. I think it's above average.
Okay.
It easily could have been an 8 if the last third was good. But that's a lot of things. But it's definitely above average for me, as it's just below average for you. This season, I mean, I don't know. So I'll probably just have to match it at 6 because I don't know where it's going. There's very little bad in it, and even the last third isn't bad by any means. It's just not very interesting because it's obvious.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6 and a 6.
Martin Devon says, was Beverly in this episode at all? Yes, she talked about dancing with the one.
Yes.
The one Bajoran guy. So yes, she was.
5 more likes, 16 more.
And it's funny because she's a dance choreographer in real life, so that was kind of funny actually.
Yes.
It's a good dancer.
No, it made sense. They gave everyone a moment. So yeah.
Misha though throws in a $10 super chat, so thank you so much. Really one of the best Ro episodes. See, there's 2 episodes I like better for Ro. One is Rascals, even though I guess it's not Ro through most of the episode, it's the kid. But anyway, and then the one with Geordi with their phasing.
Yes.
Those are my 2 best Ro episodes, I think. So, but
well, I mean, this should be her best because it's a focused one. This is about her.
Yeah.
If it's not one of her best, that's kind of sad.
And Conundrum, where she lost her memory. She's pretty good in that too, but she's not being a bitch half the time. So
that's the actress rather than the character.
Yeah, exactly. So.
All right, so let's read the non-subject scores, guys. As you put into more subject, if you can, for your review scores. What does everyone think? Donnie says 10 out of 10 for Ensign Ro, all of season 5 and all of Next Gen's 7-season run. Oh, okay. That's unhelpful. Anton says 7 out of 10, and for all TNG 6 out of 10. Martin says 7 out of 10 for this season, 6 out of 10 for all TNG. Devereaux 7 out of 10. Aussie 7.5, and we get 10. Very kind. Fleetpaw 5 out of 10 for this season, and 4.5 out of all TNG. I found it enjoyable, but I also wasn't as memorable as I thought it was. It's a decent episode that introduced a somewhat fascinating character. Yes, memorable. It wasn't as memorable as it could have been, for sure. But that's the problem with introducing terrorism and then making them not the baddies. It's like, you can't go heavy-hitting enough to make it worth the modicum. You just can't. And when you show their ships are completely incapable of even taking 2 hits from basic disruptors, hard to give them any sort of threat category. Eric says 8 out of 10. Sergeant Montgomery says 5. Season 5, 6.5. TNG 7. Squadron Core 7 out of 10 for Season 5. 6 for TNG. Clark 8.5 for Season 5 and 8 for TNG. And Eugene 7 out of 10. And this is Joko C+.
Well, there you go.
Okay, so bit on the low side for us, but
4 more likes to get to 130 would be great, and if you get another $16. Right now, Misha has the last super chat slot.
Right there.
So if anybody wants to snipe for it, that'd be great.
Yeah, right there. I also Rascals. I really enjoy Rascals because it's like that Lower Decks episode, but without being Lower Decks, even though it kind of is.
Yeah, it's a fun episode. I really enjoy Rascals, and I'm not a fan of kids, so that says something.
Well, there's Starfleet kids.
The kid that they get to play Guinan in that episode is fantastic. She does a bang-up job.
I think they're all good. Yeah. I can't really complain. And isn't the Picard?
Yeah, Picard's played by his nephew.
Just
Renee.
older. Yeah. With a real distinct accent in that version. Yeah. But I'm surprised by 7.5s and 8s, because then you're saying of all of Star Trek TNG, it's in the top 20% of all of TNG.
Yeah, I don't buy
For what amounts to, we're going to go find a terrorist, now he's not a terrorist, he didn't get killed, moving on.
We're being used to find the terrorists for the other people. Yeah.
Yeah, the meat here is like, thin, lean steak that's tasty, and then you're like, can I get the rest of the meal? No? Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't even think this one, beyond the literal introduction of Bajorans, this is a tenuous link to DS9. Even to the point they name their species wrong, and right, and wrong, and right. Bajora. Which I would have loved if that was the name of their like terrorism cult with a Bajora militia. That I assumed that their first mention, they just a custom version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I say, when a third is dull, that certainly brings the score down. And top 20%, it is not for us anyway. Now, if you love Ro or Bajorans, I can imagine it would be high, because this is stuff you love. But also, it's not the full Bajoran makeup, and she doesn't even have the full backstory of Bajoran, so it's not even really a Bajoran, you know?
It's like the early trill from the host.
100%.
Haven't quite got it down yet. Yeah.
And even the Cardassian's not dickish enough. He's actually, rather respectful. You can kind of see why he was posted on the border, because he's actually like, yeah, he's like, I wanna, I like the border. Border's good.
That being said, Caldicott's pretty polite. A lot.
He can be. Yeah.
Even when he's being a dick, he's kind of polite. So, just saying. But all right, guys. Looks like we're not gonna get 4 more likes, and that's okay. So no live tomorrow because things are going on. And we will be having a live on Sunday, I believe, for Samuel's birthday. So tune in for that. It'll be earlier in the afternoon.
Yes.
Like 1 or 2 Eastern Standard Time kind of thing.
Yep.
So
I can show off my presents. I'm gonna do costume changes as normal, and if you super chat enough, you can put me in the formal uniform. See me out as live, which is exciting. And then Monday I'm doing filming, which will be fun. I'm filming in both DS9 Season 3 and Voyager Season 11 era.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not in both though. Oh, wait, no, I'm not in both. I'm in one. Although I expect Nim to look 20 years different. An hour apart.
Which direction?
Well,
younger or older?
Well, both, because she's playing both. She's playing her younger self and her normal self.
What she's doing first, though, is what I meant.
Younger first.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys.
2 more likes. Come on, 2 more. Come on, we can get to 130. Come on.
Squadron Course, $2. Like. There you go. PS last. There you go. Squadron Course got the last super chat slot with that snipe, but we need 2 more likes, even though Squadron Course gave us 4 likes. So thank you.
Yes, but doesn't YouTube not sure quite? Well, that'd be great if you could cheat the system by like super taking a like, because they'd get their money.
The only way to do it is to actually have another account. Actually, I haven't hit like yet, so I'm gonna go do that right now. That'll up us by 1.
He saw through the system. Amazing.
I usually hit like when I just did not. Oh, we got 2 dislikes. That makes up for it.
Oh, good. That's one more like. One more like. Whoa, one more like. Hey!
Cool. There we go. We're 131 now. Awesome.
131.
Great, guys.
So maybe see you tomorrow.
Course,
and so you
winner.
And you'll see. They'll see you tomorrow at least.
Yes, tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And then Sunday for the birthday blowout, which I'm excited for. So tune for that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until then, he's Commander Cockings.
He's Kevin Foley. That's Ensign Ro.
Which she's that way. Yeah, that way. No, wait a minute. Oh yeah, she's that way. That's right. I'm